Listen up, Miles. And open your goddamn ears. Look around, what do you see? It's a wasteland. There are no more rules. People do whatever they want. It's complete chaos.
Hey!
There he is.
You guys are awesome for waiting up for us. And I know you did. I know you really waited up for Joy Score because you know what? You know if you tune into the station that you're going to be happy. You're going to feel better and you're going to raise your Joy Scores. That's what a Joy Score is, by the way. It's how you perceive the world in a really freaking healthy, energetic, exciting way. And this entire program is dedicated to the finer things in life in terms of how to observe teachable moments, how to shift your perspective, how to go from being a victim to a leader in about one breath. That's what it's about. And it's about us learning from our guests. We have two awesome guests here tonight. We have Frank Donner and Chris von Hoffmann. Frank Donner is an Oscar-nominated producer, CEO of Black Box Creative Group, freaking unbelievable marketing people that come up with concepts for the biggest movie companies in our industry. So we're lucky to have him. And then you've got Chris von Hoffmann, who's special kid, special young man who's just creating kick-ass films right now. He's very enthusiastic. He's going to share how he goes about that and how he arrived at where he arrived at. And we have also the lovely Suzanne Toro, who's making this whole ship float.
Well, it was tugging along tonight, but thank goodness for Thomas back there. Big shout out to you for your calm, patient way.
Thomas and Babette, just working through all the little glitches in the systems that happen. I'm right here, Thomas. I'm going to come right here in front and making it happen. So I think we got to push through here a little bit. Let's
rock and roll.
Let's not forget about what Joy Score is. Let's reiterate the importance that Dr. Bob has brought to us. He's brought this show to us, and he's basing all of this on his need and his wish for a happier, healthier world. And for that, this whole entire program is a blessing, and we thank him for having the courage to give something like this a go. Although he's got tons of different legs. He's got the app coming out. He's got other books coming out. He's gone games, business to business, lectures to help business people kind of lift their Joy Scores and be happier in the workplace and all that wonderful stuff.
So how's your Joy Score today, Thomas?
Well, whenever I get to do this, I'm really excited. And I'm excited to get into the guests and to see what they have to offer and how they're going to enlighten us tonight. Because every single week, I feel like I've been lifted. I've been enlightened. I've been they put a smile on my face, and I feel like I said, I feel like this show is a blessing because we get to ask these important questions. We get to seek out the pivotal moments in their life where things look darkest and how the darkness actually directed them to the light and allowed them to fall into the things that they were meant to be doing. I think that's just fabulous. A lot of times if we get stuck in the darkness too long and don't look for that light, we can get stuck.
Absolutely.
And so this show has a lot of remedies to getting unstuck.
Yeah.
How to seek that light and know that it's always darkest before the dawn. I don't know if that's actually true. I think it's actually darkest around 3 a.m., but whatever.
I don't know if that's true either, but whatever. It's a good metaphor.
Whatever. It's darkest before the dawn.
So you're feeling good. You're pumped up.
No, I want to get Frank in here because these guys come down from Hollywood. It's a heck of a drive sometimes in that traffic. That stupid 405, 5, 110, 710 traffic.
So what's some good things that we could do on the freeway to improve our Joy score?
Oh, just enjoy
Tune into Joy Score.
Enjoy the time. And hopefully you don't have to take a pee.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than being in traffic and having to take a pee. That's like the worst freaking thing in the world.
Well, if you're a man and you have a bottle, you have no problem.
A man in a bottle. Right. You better you better not be
instant relief.
You better not be an A-type personality and clean out your car of all those bottles. Otherwise, you're like pulling over in traffic and standing out there and dangling your dingle in the middle of 405 traffic with 100 people watching and pointing at you. But yeah, the bottle works. I had to use the bottle the other day. Actually, I was like coming down La Brea when I was going to teach the class. And I was like, I don't think I can make it to the bathroom. I was like, thank God for that 2-liter bottle, boy, with the big nozzle.
That was always a trick when the boys were young.
It was like a Mickey's Big Mouth nozzle, luckily. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to do it. It would have been a real problem. I could have peed all over myself. But the things you do to survive in L.A. traffic, it's nuts, right?
It is nuts.
Well, let's talk about Frank Donner.
Yeah, Frank. I'm excited to talk to him. Creative genius. Company that promotes creation. Well,
listen. I know him to be actually a creative genius. I've known him since he was an aspiring, successful actor. I've had the privilege of directing him in a couple of things, a couple of films. Directed him at the Improv in a comedy show with Kevin Swanson, his old comedy partner, and this is like going back like 20 years. I got to direct him on a play called Short Eyes, and Miguel Pinero's Short Eyes. I actually
got an award, didn't you?
I received a directorial award for that play,
nice.
And he was a lead. He was one of the leads in that play, and the guy kicked butt. So it's fun to watch him take all of that creative energy and all that impetus and run it through this extraordinary company as Black Box Creative Group over here in Hollywood, and he's just kicking butt. And not only that, he's kind of breaking down barriers with in terms of how he hires people and how he finds people and how he leads these people and teaches these people and mentors these people and gives them opportunities in the industry that like no one else can. So for that, he's extremely proficient, and he's an extraordinary family man. He's been able to keep it together.
Nice.
2 beautiful kids. You probably saw that in the video.
Yeah, beautiful photos of his wife, who's sent those to a photographer, right?
Yeah, Carmel. She used to be Carmel McFadden. Now she's Carmel Donner. I like Carmel McFadden better than Carmel Donner, but she's a Carmel Donner now.
Oh, I love it. I love that name. I like Carmel.
2 beautiful kids. And how he manages to juggle all of that, and it's gonna be interesting to see where he wants to put his attention in terms of what he wants to share with us. So, hey Thomas, let's play just Frank's lead in, and then we'll get Frank in here. Okay, we'll get Frank in here, and he's gonna enlighten us. You got that going? Front.
You're up.
Which one? This one?
Camera 1.
Hey! All right, we got
are.
Frank Donner coming into the studio here right now. He's going to appear. Hey, Frank Donner!
Frank's in the house.
Can I bring this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Frank Donner's
Use
in
that
the house,
little
folks.
table right there so it doesn't spill.
If you,
Okay, thank you. I can use it here.
Frank's in the house,
I think
baby.
that's the safest.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
And there's your headphones right there.
Okay, let me put my headphones on.
No hurry. But although you might be in a
live,
hurry now.
Keep it real.
What?
Pull that mic into you.
Okay.
We'll adjust you. You look great.
Nobody, can they see me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have lots of things going on around you.
Where?
Everywhere. Here, up there.
That one up there, over there, up there.
You can't. Can you see? Like,
pull that mic. Pull that mic to you. It needs to be about 3 inches from your mouth.
Like right there. Do I like? How about that? Does that sound good?
Pull it up towards you a little bit.
Okay, like that. I can stretch it out. Down. Right there. All
right.
Right there.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Let's give.
Oh, look at you! There you go.
Okay, I got my black box sweatshirt right here, man.
Nice. Good way for promotion. That's rocking.
I got you under control over here.
Look at there you go. Little promotion over
here. That's for the team back in Hollywood.
Well, he's got to get the camera on it. He's over here, so we'll show you.
We'll get that later.
We were talking about Black Box Creative Group before you came out. I was talking about how you've taken all of that creative impetus as a performing artist, as an actor, and my privilege of being able to work with you. But basically keep that creative impetus going and taking it into your CEO work and into Black Box Entertainment. How about that? How about that for a transition? That's true, right?
That is a transition. I don't even know what to think about that.
You're like,
I always say, not me, but we.
Yeah. Looks like you have a fun team there.
Amazing.
You don't sound like an actor when you say that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm the actor is on all the time at some point. I don't think it ever goes away. He just changes his voice, but I'd like to climb back into him a bit more. I think that would be good. Tommy, you know how that is.
Well, listen. What we were just talking about though is that you taking all of that super energy that you had as a comedian and the energy that you put into the theater work. And like I said, I had the privilege of working with you in that format as well. And even in the comedy show, we used cameras on you. We were actually cutting edge, bringing multimedia into the comedy format back in those 90s, right?
Absolutely. With that
Kevin Swanson, baby.
Kevin Swanson, my partner in crime. Yeah, no, we were pushing the envelope back there, taking the black box theater and then turning it into a multimedia step. That was cutting edge.
What does that mean, Black Box Theater? What are you talking about?
Well, the name, our company is Black Box.
Right.
So,
But that's where it started? Black Box Theater?
Well, I mean, my partner and I, Jeff Wong, and I decided that, we were looking for a name, and I told him, hey, one of my loves is obviously the theater. And Black Box Theater of the 1960s, was cutting edge. They were pushing the envelope. They would do theater anywhere. They broke the rules. There were no boundaries. And I thought, wow, what a great way to
the original pop-up.
What a great name for a company. That essentially I didn't know where the company was going because
that's pretty much where it went, Frank. I mean, you took that same creative impetus into I guess every time you get a new client, they have new requirements, and you have to wrap your mind around everything that they might need, and that's stepping into unknown territory because they're like passing the ball to you, going, we don't necessarily know what you do, and come up with something for us, right?
And that's the other side of it. You got the black box of theater, one part which is the challenging of something new, breaking the rules, doing it anywhere. There were no boundaries. You didn't have you weren't locked into space, right. And then there's a science of a black box. So if you look up on Wikipedia, there's something that comes in. It gets worked on. Nobody knows what the mystery of that is, and it comes out better. So the combination of those two are the DNA of what we call black box for our company.
And it can reveal a lot.
The DNA called black box. Wow, that's very scientific.
Yeah.
The DNA called black box.
It does. You
sound smart. You sound smart, Frank.
I do. I don't even. It's funny when I hear my own voice. I'm like, well, who is that guy?
Just wait till we get the surround sound.
Yeah. It's like, where's the actor dude? I want to talk to that guy. I want to be Alec Baldwin. Here's the thing.
Okay,
Alec Baldwin.
We can put you in character and interview each character.
Please, yeah.
Well, listen, also that energy has gone into raising this beautiful family that you got. Yeah. So that sometimes that takes on a creative impetus as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I was talking to somebody earlier because people always talk about we have a large millennial force. Early on a few years ago, you guys remember everything was about work-life balance, and
right.
I know for you, Suzanne, and what you guys are doing here, which was really excited about to be part of this, is just trying to find that balance. And I would tell people, hey, look, balance is inside of you. I got 2 kids. I'm still with the same woman that I married, since we've been together.
You're so not Hollywood that way.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Hollywood is a strange thing, but you find that holistic thing, and my family informs what I do.
Right.
It sets my mind. I have a great relationship with both my kids.
Nice.
Tommy knows both of them, and my son and I. We went on a surf voyage this summer, and he wrote this beautiful thing. He's an entrepreneur. He's doing mechanical and aerospace engineering at UCLA, but he also has the creative bent.
Yep.
And we just did this great trip, and then he wrote this thing on his Instagram, which was really just putting tears in my eyes. So it's what you guys do here, and it's that mindfulness practice and trying to find joy. My job is or what I do is it can be quite intense at times, and there's a lot of things going on, especially now. I was listening to something earlier. What you guys are doing here is magic, and I was really excited when Tom told me about this, because we put things out there, right? Whether we're writing a book, making a movie, producing a play, and I, with a business partner and a great group of people, got the luxury to put this company, Black Box, in doing some really great magic. But we have a long way to go. It's a big journey.
Right.
And we put so much time and effort into things, and we want to see it come to fruition. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be the thing that you thought it might be. It could be whatever it is, because you put it out there, because we put so much time and energy. So for
Where
me,
is the ship sailed? In that journey, because I think for a lot of people, you get attached to an idea and you think it should be something, but it sounds like for you, it's traveled.
It has, it's great to use the ship analogy, because we do think of that. I mean, my wife painted a picture of Mount Everest, so I use the climb analogy, but you can use the ship analogy. So whether it's sailing the ship or climbing the mountain, just happened to be, the 3x5 foot painting of Mount Everest that my wife did, which is amazing.
Wow.
Carmel, which Tom knows. And that climb is arduous. So where is our climb, or where is the ship? It's, it's morphed so many times, and it's no longer, it has, people say, well, you started the company, and of course, as entrepreneurs and the people leading anything, the idea is when things are successful, you allow your team to look out the window and see the grandiosity that they created.
Right.
And when shit hits the fan and everything comes back, you go into the bathroom, look in the mirror, and go, okay, take care of that shit. So I'm like,
clean up crew.
How many times I've had to look in the mirror? But I love it, and where it is, to answer your question, Suzanne, it's I guess it's where it should be, whatever that means. I'm so proud of it, but we're in very interesting times, and we're in our 8th year of the business. Last year was our 7-year itch
with Black Box Creative Group.
Yeah, with Black Box, and we've gone through some tough stuff. I won't deny my partner and I, who's just amazing, Jeff Wong, who's Taiwanese-born, American UCLA graduate, got his MBA SC. He's the best person I could have as a partner when doing something like this, and then I'm so proud of all the people. We've got people going on 6 and 7 years in the business. When we started, and
you know what I noticed though? Just from your pictures, just in reflecting in the pictures that I got, there's some common denominators there. You show this. You see, what are you, like the last of 12 children, or the middle of 12 children?
Yeah. I'm 8 at the bottom, but you're right.
So you come from a family of 12.
Yeah.
So you got this huge, you see how I zoomed in the corner and I pulled back, and
I love that.
Then you got this enormous family. Well, that's Frank's family.
Yeah.
That's like his family. And then if you notice later on, we start on the stairs of Black Box Entertainment, and then we pull back.
You have a huge family.
And we have another enormous family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's funny how life emulates your art and your job, and you've managed to
totally.
How much of a factor is that, where you come from such a huge family, and then how much is that playing a part now in your work life?
Yeah, it's great.
Do you realize that those parents?
Yeah, I do. I think about that. A lot of people say be careful to talk about a company as a family. But more as a team, but I can't get away from it. And, one of my biggest, I guess you can call it an attribute, but also it's a blessing and a curse.
Right.
I kind of see and hear everything. When I was growing up and amongst 12 people,
you were seeing and hearing everything.
I was hearing everything, probably stuff like I didn't want to, but you're observant. You become this consummate observer. And the blessing and the curse is that you see and hear everything going on in a company, and it's not always a good thing. My business partner often wonders, like, what the, how did you know about that? I'm like, I have no idea, dude. It's like, he goes, and he's just walking through, it's like, I don't know how you knew about that. And some of it could be just sixth sense, and some of it could just be something I shouldn't I should just put aside.
Right.
But it is family, and I think everything informs us. We go out into the world, we are with our families, we come back, and then we do something with inside a context of a company and an artistic endeavor, and it explores it. So
And
you're right.
Also keeps you aggressive too, because if you're number 8 of 12, you are fighting for mom's and dad's attention.
Totally. That's, I think,
Food.
one of the kind of
You're fighting for food.
Food is the right things. Totally. All my brothers.
More than parents' attention.
Yeah, all my brothers
are.
my brothers are twice the size of me. So I'm the runt of the family. That's because it's like when there were wings on the table or chicken, it was like you fight and you get your ass kicked. Can we say swear words?
Yes, you can.
Okay, yeah, and you're like,
Devin,
oh my,
shut
it's
us
going
down.
Okay, good. Okay, but yeah, no, it's a good thing. You're right. There's families on both sides of it, and I do look at my staff and the people that I work with. I like to say, instead of employees or things like that, it's team and talent.
Yeah.
Our talent. And I think it showed you a couple of articles. And what was cool about it is we hire comedians do our copywriting. We have more comedians for some reason. They're great copywriters, short form, great context. One of them right now, Jeff, is doing stand up, in Pasadena, and just smart, super smart young
Well, it
guy.
keeps those creative doors open. So
Totally.
he walks back in through your doors.
Yeah.
His mind's wide open and perceiving things from a particular place, and that probably brings a lot of light to your clientele, to your clients,
Yeah.
to your very powerful clients.
Yeah.
What? Just brag a little bit. So top 10 clients.
You know what?
Sony, DreamWorks,
all of them. All of them. We work with every major studio, all the streaming companies, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu. But what's great is, we kind of call the company business to fan. When people ask us, we seem to, our hiring process is basically looking at people and just saying, who do you want to be in the world and what are you doing? Rather than, hey, this is your job.
Who do you want to be in the world and what are you doing?
Yeah. And what do you want to be doing?
Okay, Frank. Who do you want to be in the world, and what are you doing?
Let me see. I want to be Elon Musk going to Mars, but I don't want to be crazy.
That.
I know you good. I'm going to take the next flight.
He might not come back.
Yeah. But that's what we've talked about, and what you guys do is what I love most about is anyone. I love one-on-one conversations. Even though I have to entertain a lot and be in fact, I just came from something earlier. With a couple of folks, and there was Anthony Michael Key and Peele.
Yes.
Got married a very good friend of mine who's a producer called Elisa.
They got married?
Yeah,
they
awesome.
did.
Yeah, we were at the wedding last year in New York, which is awesome. And they're just really sweet people. But it's all about what I love is just being around creative energy. You guys are that, and that's our company. Everybody, I get the pleasure of going into a place all day long with just super creative people.
Yeah.
And they're just energy is great, and they're thinking, and that's great for me. I mean, it's a luxury and it's a blessing. So
from the time that you're sitting down at the piano and your mom's making you learn how to play piano and singing, and you're jockeying for attention, so you got to sing the best, you got to play the piano the best, right? And then you get this actor bug. When did that hit you?
Wow, you just dropped me back to the past because
we're time traveling.
You hit it. My mom, raising, she was an actor and
the mom was an actor. Mom was an actor.
Theater, Polish upbringing. She's a literature major as well. She played the guitar, the piano, the flute. She was a vocalist.
Wow.
You can sing.
I love her. She's like an amazing woman.
Frank went on tour in Australia singing and freaking doing this Dean Martin gig. You got some Dean Martin?
Oh, yeah.
Right now? Come on.
Everybody loves somebody sometime. Everybody falls in love. I can't even remember all the things. It's been so long
No,
ago.
you can't.
I know, I can't. Well, I was going to go back to what you said about my mom, who's just an angel. I mean, just an amazing and just love her. And she's going to turn 86. My dad turned 88.
Aww.
Still has a full head of hair. He looks like, people look at him like, wait, how old is that guy?
Well, what I love too is just to stay there because you're doing that, and then your daughter gets into the acting.
She's got the
and
bug.
You're sitting down with her, showing her how to play piano and sing.
Totally.
And now she's got the acting bug.
Yeah, and she's far better than I am. But when you talked about my mom,
no, dude, you're good. You're a great actor.
Well, thank
you.
I
can tell you,
thank you
from experience. So
you were
she's
there.
got,
he has bragged about you.
If she's got half the chutzpah you got, she's gonna break down. And listen,
she's
also,
good.
Here's the other great thing about you, Frank. You came to Hollywood, you stayed in Hollywood, and you're making it in Hollywood.
No. Yeah.
I mean, that's a win-win, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you.
And now you're influencing and leading all sorts of other people into their dream careers here in Hollywood. It's hard to make it here. It's hard to make it here, and it's hard to make it in New York. So, so you're succeeding on all those levels. But how's the daughter taking it? I mean, you didn't ruin her by
How old
forcing
is
it
she?
on her, did you?
She's 17. She just she's just a knockout. I mean, when I look at her sometimes, it's great, as a parent or anybody watching your child grow up, and I think Tom, was kind of mentioning, I didn't push her into it. I didn't steer. I mean, I actually would kind of like steer her away from it,
Right?
Because as you pointed out, it's not an easy life. People don't really. It seems fun, but she's been doing it since she's 6, and she's right now getting ready to apply to a lot of great universities with some
Nice.
really good
I
programs.
saw her with a picture with Meryl Streep.
Yeah, she, I got her in to meet Meryl Streep, and
The
it was
best of all time.
Yeah, best. So it was a nice kind of connection for her.
The goat of acting.
Totally, she's got it.
Greatest of all
She's got
time.
it.
Did
But there-
she like it?
Oh, she loves it. But there's something when a parent watches her, and she did, Once Upon a Mattress, Prince of the Pea, and
Yeah.
Carol Burnett did it and made it. She like embodied Carol Burnett. And here's a 16-year-old because it was a year ago.
Why did you invite me?
Oh man, I should have.
Bastard.
I should have. And I'm watching her up there, and there's tears in my eyes because she just knocked it out of the park, and then she got nominated for Best Actor for the Jerry Herman Awards, which is the high school stuff.
Right.
So she went down. We went all that.
Good
stuff
for
with it. Yeah.
Sophia.
So she's got it, Tom. You'd be proud of her.
Good.
She's
Well,
she's
the
killed
next
it.
one.
Yeah.
Next one, we
You're
better
gonna give her a little bell.
here's
Yeah.
the
Oh, I
your
love that.
daughter.
Yes, thank you. I'll take that. I'll take that.
Yeah, but that makes her.
And for the team.
That
Thank
makes
you.
her a third generation actor.
Totally. Yeah. She's she's just knockout. So I'm really proud of what she's doing, and we're right in the throes of it. But yeah, it's great, that generation and passing it on, and the same with my team. It's for me right now. I guess somebody called me. I like, sometimes you're going through the trials and tribulations in life. Where's my own path? All the things that you want to do. No regrets, but just going, okay, what's the next evolution
Right.
for me? And someone said, you're kind of that elder statesman. You take a step back, and just enjoy your process. You're that sort of Indian chieftain. Let them do their thing. And for me right now, it's just seeing people just explore their possibilities, and that's what I get a kick out of.
The mentorship.
The mentoring
Yeah.
is just like, it's golden. It's like, I tell my staff all the time, it's like, and they know I'm emotional. I'll sit in meetings, man, and I'll start weeping. And then my wife says, well, it could be hormonal. Kind of hit that mark. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And the other thing is, she called me Fat Frank in Vienna. I'm like,
Oh
what?
no!
You don't look fat.
Thank you. What's that shot? Show him that shot, man.
Yeah, we shot. Yeah, that was Frank going like this.
Yeah.
and
Were you just having too much fun in Vienna?
Too many
And that
schnitzels and
Yeah.
beers,
and that handsome stud next to you is
Yeah.
your son. My God, that guy blossomed into like Prince Charming. I mean, what a beautiful what a beautiful guy he's turned into. Intelligent. He's also taken some of the industry, right? He's getting into editing.
Yeah.
He's at UCLA, pushing the boundaries
Yeah.
there. I mean, he's probably like a freaking.
Well, you said engineering, so
Yeah.
he might get you to Mars.
Yeah. You know what? He was going to go that way. Mechanical and aerospace engineering. He thought about working, at
Yeah.
SpaceX, and I took him to SpaceX because we have some friends there a couple of years ago, and he was blown by it. But he's got the other side, behind the camera. He's enriched by, he can code, and he's got the brains for it. He's kind of got my wife, who's got the exceptional intelligence, and she's got the,
She's got an eye too.
Yeah, she's
a
incredible.
photographer.
Oh,
She's a photographer, freaking architect.
designs purses,
Could be-
dresses. I mean, she's the
Nice.
Martha Stewart of Australia.
Martha Stewart, forget that. She's
Oh, yeah,
like
okay.
Miss freaking Australia, Martha Stewart.
Totally. She's I mean, she makes kombucha, and she makes muesli. I mean, it's like, man,
Yeah.
anything she touches, it just turns to magic.
Well, I want you to realize you got a blessed existence there. You're staying on your creative horses through your business. I know that I know you want to get back in front of people, do your poetry, do your freaking get back in the theater.
Love that.
I want to throw you.
You're doing
in
some
I
public
wanna-
speaking, aren't you? Too?
Yeah, I do a lot
Yeah,
of public
you do
speaking, but sometimes I go, oh, this is all bullshit. It's like, what am I saying up here? It's like, because I really want to be saying what I'm saying here, right?
Right.
But you got to have a forum for it. I mean,
Right.
a lot of things I'm saying, it's good. Like, I had an amazing, public speaking opportunity at South by Southwest a few years ago. And it was diversity in the workplace, where I was really passionate about, and it got tons of great reviews, and that's when I felt like I was in my element, because I was talking about my team, and I was talking
Right.
about what fuels Black Box Creative Processes, this diverse group. We have every age, ethnicity, sexual orientation. It was the year when the Obamas flew into South by Southwest, so there was something in the air and
Right.
magic, which we need
Yeah,
a lot more of.
absolutely.
And so for me, that's what excites me. So I would love to be doing more of something that centers around, the
Thought leader and innovation.
Yeah,
it sounds
yeah,
like.
but it seems like you like, if you look at all the creative steps,
Yeah.
and especially, I mean, the job that you have is awesome, no doubt.
Yep.
But no doubt, it's a high stress job. You're responsible
yeah.
for 35 people. You
Yeah.
got several thousand square feet you got to
Yep.
pay for every month. You got to keep your head above board. I mean, how are you? What tools do you use to keep your head on your shoulders when it seems like things are getting challenging? How are you managing that? So I'm asking you a rhetorical question because it seems like you would have to return to your creative roots to sort of gain perspective on all that chaos. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there.
That's great, Tommy. I mean, I really like you said, because this has probably been the last couple of years have been ultimately very challenging because it's a changing world, changing dynamics, and I'm glad you brought it up because every leader, doesn't matter how many people that you have or employ, the stresses are the same in varying degrees. You could be running a country like Obama, but even a small business person and running a company, that you have the same things. We wake up, he just has a bigger staff, right?
Yeah.
And to your point, I absolutely have to go to the creative roots, and I have to kind of look at what are other people doing. And I'm a lifelong learner. I love talking to people and figuring out what they do, and I love podcasts like this to be able to go, what are other people doing? So
right.
Mindfulness practice has been really important to me.
Like how do you when you say mindfulness practice to the audience that's watching, that's pretty much what this platform is about.
Yeah.
And when you say mindfulness practice, what is that to you?
Well, to me, and that's why I was so excited to come on here, is because what you guys are doing is very important, and the messages that people need, because there's so many people that go through life that, especially when they say there's two prongs or two ways of looking at CEOs, no matter what size the company is. They say, well, it can be very lonely. Others say says it cannot be. And I think there's kind of, for me, a both, sometimes, because your buck stops with you. I don't got anybody behind me. My team is like, we'll just get it to Frank. And so what do you do with that? So mindfully, what do you do with it when it comes to you and you can't sleep at night and you have anxiety and making sure the payroll's there? And like you said, we have big spaces and the clients are serviced, and you got an employee issue or a challenge or whatever, you got to find that. So I guess for me, mindfulness is a holistic look at everything. I got to be out there. I have to exercise. I have to get rid of.
That's right, buddy. You started running. You started running up mountains, dude.
Yeah, I did.
Competitively, you started running up mountains. So I guess that's sort of how you get things back to zero and get reconnected to body, mind, spirit on those jogs and those workout runs. And certainly a race or a competition keeps that masculine edge going on, because you want to be at the top of the mountain first to see how you're doing and see how you're. Is that honest?
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, and I'm talking to an ex-athlete, so you know what it is. You push the envelope and all the things from hockey to.
Well, I don't have a corporation. I'm not responsible for 35. That hasn't been one of my strong points in terms of even being able to get outside my own box relative to other people. It's always like trying to feed the creative monster inside of me.
Yeah.
But the stress of it. So you exercise. So what happens when you're exercising?
Well,
what does that recovery feel like?
It feels. I mean, one of the things that when I first started, getting into what's called Xteros, either these mountain runs, anywhere from 10, 15, 20, 25 mile mountain runs, going up 3,000-4,000 square feet. But it's great. It's like, I thought there's no way I would ever get past like 5 miles, 10 miles, and then it becomes a meditative thing. And as any runner knows,
do you stop and take a smoke along the way?
Of course, man. Yeah. Which brand are you talking about?
Oh my gosh,
cannabis is legal. I take 2 smokes. It's like, let's keep going. But you get into that.
Then you float.
Exactly. It's like float all the way to the finish line. But it is that kind of that experience that you get when you get into. And someone told me it's like right when you that endorphins kick in, and all of a sudden you're just feeling like your brain is just allowing itself to work through its problems, because the running takes everything else out, right? And so you're only in your mind space, not the monkey brain, but the good place to be to start thinking and look and taking puzzle pieces. And every time I do that, it really helps me work things out, and I do meditation. I'm not the best at it. I've got some meditation practice. I meet with somebody to do chakra about once a month of balancing. That's a really good 2 to 3 hour practice that I do with this person that comes in and kind of does the chakra. That helps. So that's another piece.
So what chakra in you is out of whack?
I think all of us. I don't know. It's like
They're always oscillating.
Yeah, I'm not. The person I work with is fantastic, and and she has, she messages all the different things, and she'll talk about specific things, whether it's in the throat. I think the most would see my throat was out of whack.
Yeah,
the voice, and it's interesting how we talk about. I need a platform even for myself. I have a platform for the people that come into Black Box, and I give them the best platform I can, but oftentimes we forget about ourselves, and I'd like to have that, but not in an unselfish way. I mean, even when I went to South by, some of my team, it was ironic because I have such a diverse team. So this was 2-3 years ago when diversity was hitting the market a lot of places. People were talking.
Well, you guys are already at the cutting edge. You were already thinking diversity in terms of ethnic diversity before anybody was even talking about it. You were already there.
Someone asked me about it. It was totally natural that I got a call from a group. It's the foundation. I'll remember whether they're here in Los Angeles, and they're doing a lot of things with diverse workplaces. They're like, hey, do you track your diversity and this? And I said, no, not at all. I mean, this isn't about we're going to have this placement, this placement. I said, things are natural because people who come into are looking for a specific type of person that maybe has a heart or a fandom inside them. And it just, there's no racial border. It's whomever's there is the right person, and explore it. And then by just the way it becomes, if you walk into it, it's everything is just so diverse because we're looking for all different types of talent. So we don't really have to go, gosh, we got to get that one person to meet the quota.
Right.
I mean, we're not a corporation, but it's not that. But the eclecticism comes just by virtue of, what we're searching for and how we do our interview process and what we're looking for in creatives. And creatives, there's no boundaries for
absolutely.
creative person, right? I mean,
what's cool is that you're innately diverse because you're stuck in a position where you have to come up with marketing strategies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people with eyes directed in different directions that see the world through a different sphere can certainly become a hero by coming up with a concept that responds and resonates with a certain client, right?
Yeah.
Is that how you?
Yeah, and I bring up, I think I brought this up before. I love to talk about this one, case we had a young talent with us some years ago, Fee, and we were working on pitching for The Life of Pi, Ang Lee's film. And
beautiful film,
great film. And
Life of Pi. You haven't seen that one, people.
It's a great book.
Yeah, great book.
Great book, and find that beautiful movie as well. You guys came up with the marketing campaign, the aftermarket campaign for it.
This part was about basically just getting into the pitching process. So we got we come in and we get an opportunity, right? So we have to read the book. There's no script at this time. We're just reading the book and coming with some ideas. But what was cool about this, we have a specific type of brainstorming process that we use at Black Box. It's our way. It's kind of our internal IP, if you will.
Is that inspired by your creative experiences?
Your secret sauce.
I think a lot of it, and I give credit to our creative director Raymond Sanchez and a lot of our early team. So, but I do think there was a lot of play in the early days that was from acting. The ability, because you got to get up and play. You got to stand up your feet. And you got to move your body around. You got to think. And
you got to feel it.
You got to feel it, and so you have to embody it. So that we were going through this thing, and Fee was started to talk about a story where she had to leave Vietnam, and she was fleeing the country with her parents, and she was a 7-year-old girl, and she's crying, and she just explained this whole thing. And it was kind of related to the whole Life of Pi experience, and she just broke down. But that just started to inform our what we were going to do, and we launched some just magical ideas. And there's so many stories like that happened where we're winning the day by really embodying what is being asked of us.
That's beautiful, Frank.
Yeah.
That's kind of the Tao, like really transmitting the true essence, versus pretending.
Yeah, no, right? I mean, it was exactly that. It was, and I love that. I love the Tao aspect, and I love going into things like that. And we haven't even scratched the the surface because there's so much more.
Well, how much more? That's exactly what a great actor does. Yeah. He's got to embody in order to have a sense of what choices to make.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So as you analyze a piece of material, you must touch your heart within your empathizing with the characters in order to have some insight into what to do when you're on a set.
Yeah.
So what you just described to me feels just like that. That's amazing.
Yeah, and the whole process, obviously getting into marketing, digital marketing, this wasn't my background, after working in theater and and acting and going into producing films, falling into marketing was a kind of we just kind of fell into it. But it's really interesting because it's morphed so much from the days of just print and advertising 60 years with a billboard. But really, you get some of the most creative people, and I think we've just started to explore something even greater because you're using technology, and all of our ideas. If we're doing a 360 campaign, we're incorporating virtual reality ideas, artificial intelligence with bots, augmented reality, experiential. So it's a magical playground that even if you're just doing one, say you're producing a film, marketing allows you to go so deep, within even before there's. If it's just the kernel of the idea or maybe they have the script, we get to explore so much within the context. And there was a time for a film that we did some years ago where, just a brief story, where they came to us, we pitched for it, they loved our ideas, but we changed something within the context of what the script could move into and take it into the... And they were not offended, but they're like, no, we can't really do that. And I think it was, don't quote me, 3 to 6 months later, they came back to us and said, we really like what you did. We actually changed some of the script.
Yeah.
So not that marketing his job is to do or change somebody's script, but it did inform it and it allowed for some of that. So that was a big deal.
Well, that's a key point because when you're, putting together a brand or communicating a marketing strategy, you're shooting from the guise of how do we engage the consumer to even step into this product or this movie or whatever. And so that's very helpful, I would think, from a filmmaker standpoint to know that.
No, it's the fun ride because you get to explore some of different, things. And I think we're still at the very, there's still so much more that can be done in this space.
And if you can share with the listeners, because, everyone's kind of they're marketing their own, my friend from New Zealand would say everyone has their own little sitcom on these little devices. If you can share a little bit of some innovative ways that you see in the market trend of changing how we're marketing ourselves, our products, our companies, even creative industry, because I know there's a lot of people like our next guest that, have a movie, have to get it out there and look for different ways than just maybe the obvious.
It's a great thing. I really, I guess it's like everything, in many ways is, we're allowed so much more, whether, you're, back in the day as a theater actor, right? We didn't have any of the social media. We didn't have the phones. So, Tommy knows this, we were putting up, a two-man show. Yeah, it was posters and, faxing somebody, and maybe you get 5 people, But now creatives and marketers.
You never had 5 people when I was directing that.
That's right. We didn't. We were always full house. Thank you very much. But, it's a good question because I think it's really important for anyone, whether it's an influencer that's trying to get their message out or a filmmaker, anyone, or, even last night I was at an event, downtown at hockey, watched a hockey game, was invited to it, and I was talking to a bunch of entrepreneurs, and they have a product, and I said, getting your product out there is really important, and I think people miss a lot of things, the branding exercise, whether it's just from the initial stage of just your logo, your design, and just small tweaks that can be made, how you're presenting a website, and now things are even moving. Is a website really needed? How? So there, there's so much that I could go into, and I don't want to ramble and get off track. But
this is really actually if you think about the audience and you being an absolute expert in this particular field, it's extremely valuable for us to. It's not just branding a product or a logo. Basically, the social media has allowed us to brand ourselves.
That's the key, and I think people miss the mark on that. What I often say is, what our company's done oftentimes with, whether it's an individual, a brand, we always come at it with a partnership thought process. We're lucky to have our BLKBX logo up against some of the biggest powerhouses, whether it's a Marvel or a DC, or a Rovio or a gaming company, it's wonderful. So I'm always telling people to associate themselves with something powerful because you're going to put your film out there, or I'm putting my website up, I've got this material, I'm going to push it out on social media. But what are you connected to, and how is your brand related to something else? And I think it's really important, and we've always done that. Here we are, a digital marketing company.
That's what we're doing here at JoyScore. We're trying to align ourselves with Black Box Creative
That's
Group
what I love.
brand, baby.
But that's so big. It's like people, sometimes I would bring to the table and say, hey, we have this opportunity. We had one of our social media, talent come to us and said, hey, Black Box, we're doing all this stuff in theatrical or television and streaming. It's like, would we ever want to do race cars? And I'm like, racing, and we don't know that much about racing.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think? And I asked the young guy, and he goes, well, I'm a big fan of Formula One and IndyCar. I'm like, hey, it sounds good. Well, what do you got? He goes, well, I've got a relationship with this race car driver named Alexander Rossi.
Yeah.
And
I've seen him race.
yeah, and I'm like, cool, let's do it. And what was great is we met Alexander, we started working with him. Right, it was probably 6 months prior to him winning. The youngest race car driver to win the IndyCar 500.
Yeah.
And then he also raced for Formula One and building a relationship. And we're friends now and doing some great work. And then all of a sudden, working with his father, Peter, who manages Alexander, and he races for the Andretti racing team. And we're sitting there, and he goes, hey, we're going to pop, the Black Box brand on his car. And I'm like, what? Yeah. And then I don't know if it was you or someone come up and say, hey, I was watching the race. Is that you guys' logo? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. And that's, and that's what people should look out for. It's
when
like,
you have this opportunities.
yeah, look at that. And there's a wonderful synergy, and you're bringing your brand to another powerful brand, and you're not doing it because you're trying to just do it falsely. It naturally happened, and so there's a wonderful connection, and that's power.
Right.
So it's beyond just the website and pushing out in social media. So that's one thing I would make sure is always to try to find a connection with something else that is maybe bigger than you are.
Right. And what about those win-for-win experiences? Because now with a lot of exchange not always being in monetary, just like that example you got, maybe free advertising.
Yeah, totally.
Do you see a lot of those trends happening where there's value-add partnerships?
Yeah, a lot more. I think that's, we've seen that, even more and more. And, the value add. So when you're saying that, I just want to be clear. Give me,
Well, I used to work with the Black Eyed Peas.
Okay.
So when we would do certain promos, and like with the Department of Tourism in the Philippines and then MTV Asia, we'd make it a win-win for everyone.
Got
so
it.
it wasn't like everyone had to bring cash to the table.
Yes.
Like they had resources, we had resources, they had resources,
Yeah.
and could put something on that maybe would go for a lot bigger budget.
Yeah.
Than if one person had to foot the bill.
Yeah, you know what? I've seen that more and more, and that's great, Suzanne, because I've it used to be the day you guys know as filmmakers, it was like quite a few years ago. It's like, hey, we're going to put this product placement in there. We're going to get a couple extra bucks.
Right.
Apple's going to allow us to use their computers, but they're going to give us no money. I don't know, how are we going to use that? But that was great in the product placement world and all that, and it still exists. And it's sometimes it was too much in your face, but now what you're saying is there's so much more opportunity where everybody wins, and we look to explore those even in our marketing and ideas. And I think even from the standpoint of people who might be listening and have a film or they're an influencer, the win-win is magical.
Yeah.
And I think it actually is magical and ethical and really kind of the right way to do things, because you want that. You want everybody to kind of rise to the occasion, and then we're looking for that all the time in all of our branding exercises.
So Tom, I'm sure sometimes occasionally either you or somebody coming to you will have a lot of concerns and be fear-based, and they'll be wondering, how are you going to do this? You going to take advantage of us? How do you? Not only that, how do you manage fear in yourself, and then how do you take that out of a client?
Wow, that's good. Somebody gave you a book, for anybody who's out there, it's really good, who explored different things called Win Without Pitching. I'm going to do
Win Without Pitching.
Yeah, I'm going to do a shout out to a friend of mine who's got an amazing company. His name is Chris Doe. He's got a company called Future. Drop the E, and that's what you spell it. But he gave me the book Win Without Pitching. And basically, it's almost like pulling the fear out. It's like, we have to pitch in our business, and oftentimes it becomes very expensive. We go in and we got to put, time, energy, and resources, and it can total, some big bucks, but you want to go after the campaign. But if you build a relationship and you take the fear out and you're talking to a client, or in this, I like to say partner, and you're really understanding what they need and their wants and what keeps them up at night, and you're building, a really sensible relationship around the win-win factor, that you don't have to pitch. And so pulling out the fear is really understanding deeply what they want, but not just because many of these people are in a position that they're working to achieve something, but the want also has to be personal. You have to build a relationship with the individual across the table. You're not just talking to somebody. Oh, well, it's Joe at Fox, or it's Susie at Paramount, and it's like no. These people have lives. They have kids. They got into the business. They're just like us. You got to figure out, and you got to help them. And one of the things my business partner Jeff Wong and I talked about, we really have a big thing about client service. We're a client service business.
Yep, that's right.
And we used to say we get our clients promoted. And there's been so many people along the way. So like a lot of my friends, make a hell of a lot more money than I do. and they're in these great positions at all these studios doing great things. And we were there to help them along the ride. And I can, count, half a dozen where we're just so proud to be able to have supported them because they had a mission. We backed them when they called at midnight and say, and I can tell you so many stories. We were working on a film for an executive at Sony. He called at midnight. He already knew we were slammed to the gills, and he called my business partner Jeff. They're good friends. He said, "Jeff, I need your help. We've got to get this, the film out." And I'm blanking on the film. I'll think of it in a minute. But he called up and he said, "If you say no, don't worry." Oh, it was Captain Phillips. And little film,
Captain Phillips. That was a huge film with Tom Hanks.
And he said, "Can you help us?"
Brilliant film.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen that film, make sure you get to see Captain Phillips too, because that Tom Hanks that's one of his best performances ever.
Yeah, and I like to tell that because he said, "Hey, and I know you guys are busy and it's late and you got a lot of things. We don't know where this film's going to go because it was still in the early stages, but we think it's a good film." And he said, "Can you help us out?" And so Jeff did the polite thing and came to us and the team and said, "Hey guys, I know we're cranking it. It's late. We got a lot of stuff, but." We got a call, and we're like, let's do it. Everybody, Ray, our creative director, everybody jumped in and said, let's do it. Let's make that. And of course, that film went on to win.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What a great feather to put in your cap.
So does that answer your question a little bit?
No. Listen, it's invaluable insight, Frank. So that's how you alleviate the fear in your clients. So what are you afraid of?
Oh man, fear.
You're gonna reveal.
Fear is. It's really interesting you say that because you know me, Tommy. I love talking to people. I can't stop for a minute and not just engage somebody, a person. Whether it's when we have this incredibly this homeless situation going on that we got to fix. But I was at the Dream Hotel, which is over in Hollywood, and happened to be chatting with the guy behind the bar, and I had to make a call, and we started talking, and somehow the fear topic called up, and he said, "Oh yeah, he's at a working place, and there was a plaque in the office, and there's 10 points, and the first point was, and it was by age, and it was a 6-year-old kid, and there was a little quote, and the 6-year-old said, how do I hide my broccoli in my milk? And that was his thing. That's all he wanted to know about. How do I will milk hide my broccoli so I don't have to eat it? And then there was the 89-year-old man that said, it's something to the effect of that, everything that I thought that I should have feared and worried about never happened. It never happened, and I wished I didn't worry about it and fear about it. So I do have anxiety.
What you afraid of?
It's interesting, and I want to see if you can pull it out of me, because I know that's what's great about it is I don't know if I'm afraid of anything personally.
Wow.
Personally.
That's enormous.
Yeah.
No big mountain lions when you're running.
What I do have fear for is anything that might affect those that I'm closest with. So my personal fears are if I was solo,
loss of,
right? Does that make sense?
Because your children, your wife, maybe your staff,
your
team.
So what are you afraid of? So are you afraid of losing something? You're afraid of compromising a relationship? Are you? You're a CEO, so you got to be sweating it out sometimes, right?
Yeah, my business partner, luckily, I said, I've got an amazing team, an amazing business partner. I've got people, who just do amazing things. And this is again, I talk about Mount Everest and all the zigzags of trying to get a company up this, this damn mountain. And, there was some agreements made early on with some people, hey, we're going to do it. And, some of those people fell down the mountain. Some of those people lost some fingers, but we're still climbing. So, what am I afraid of? Is it fear or anxiety?
Sam?
No, I'm not. I don't fear that I lose anything because I'm still with the same woman that I love, and she's amazing, and Shout out to Carmel McFadden. That's what she goes by. She's just
we talked about her before you came on.
Yeah, and my kids. That's all solid. I would fear. Is what's the journey for this company, and what's the journey for me? So the fear is, will I be enough? I tell my team honestly, hey, I'm a guy, man. I'm only as good as you guys are.
You said something really important. Am I enough?
Yeah. Am I enough to lead this thing? Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, am I the person, am I the right person to continue? And I'll challenge my team, in bigger corporations, if a CEO doesn't hit profitability markers or something like that, they're like, yeah, thanks very much. They get golden parachutes. I get my ass booted out the door. I don't know. I was like, so, that would be a fear. I think
that's interesting. So, I mean, how do we simulate whether we're enough or not? How do we come to terms with? How do you come to terms with that?
I think for me,
what is the step out of that paradigm? Where do you put your attention when that comes up and it grabs you?
Great question. I've been wrestling with that probably more now than ever. Just because of all the things that going on. My kids are growing, right? So Sam's pretty much going to be on his own, and after this year, my daughter's going to be heading into college. So there's a little bit of empty nester thing, which may bring up some of that. The challenges at work and an ever challenging, marketing is shifting sands. It's dynamic. A talent pool, they come and go. And there was a time where, hey, you work at a company 7 years, that's a good thing. 5 years, hey, I'm going to work here for a year, got to move on. It's like, so you have to deal with all these things. And I'm so attached to people that when they leave, it's kind of heartbreaking for me. And if they leave because I didn't do something right or I tried to, we had a retention problem in 2017.
I totally understand that. So sometimes I'm working with a client for several years and they start freaking kicking ass and then I don't hear from them again.
Yeah,
but it's not like that. It's more of a human dynamic. Like that energy that you've been nurturing.
Yeah.
Is no longer there.
Yeah,
it's not. But I think you hit on even a bigger point, and that is what we do as artists.
Yeah,
and how you're taking your artistic brain and you're bringing it into your corporate existence is stepping into the unknown.
Yeah,
and that seems to be whether we're facing our last moment on the earth or whether we're waking up in the morning wondering if a client has dropped us that's going to pay our rent. Or whether we might lose a couple of employees. You walk in the door one day and all of a sudden 3 or 4 people are gone. It's like, why did they go? That's some issue. They had to go, they had to run. But it seems like stepping into the unknown is the thing that might challenge us. But then what else is there?
Yeah.
Why else would we use our creative impetus? When do we need to pull on our true creativity? It's when we don't know. And we have the courage to sit with that and assess what it is that we actually have left in our lives or what we have actually going on, and then just taking that next first step.
Yeah.
Is it a juxtaposition of two things, though? Stepping into the unknown and then bringing critical thinking and objectivity in at the same time, where you're like using both that creative force of energy, but examining all sides. So like being a CEO going, okay, I'm not meeting the mark here. You're just objectively looking at it and saying, okay, how can I dance around this differently? Because we can all evolve for sure. It's
the place where we evolve are those moments where we're asked to boldly, courageously figure it out.
Yeah.
And your greatest moments, or I guess as a human, our greatest moments are the moment where we do figure it out, or we do redirect ourselves, and it might take us down the road of doing something else entirely. It may take us to another part of the world. It may make us reevaluate where we're living, sell our house, buy a business, start another company, pursue a long-lost dream that for some reason right now is available because that other opportunity is not there. But just to our listeners, that unknown space is where all the opportunity is. It's like where the rasa is. It's where the juice of life is. It's like where you lost one person and all of a sudden somebody else walks in the door and you see the light in them, and that light was a hell of a lot brighter than the person that walked out the door. And it's like all of a sudden they're bringing new juice to you, and all of a sudden now you're all off into another path. and providing other opportunities for people that you never imagined because you had the courage to not shut down or not look back or not give up or not quit or something else. And now the world has another whole series of opportunities to offer you.
Yeah.
You know,
that's great, Tommy. And you're right on both sides. One, it is being a lifelong learner. I've always had personal coaches, which is the other side of just for the mental. I'm part of the UCLA Anderson Business School CEO Forum, where you're meeting with 15 CEOs and you're talking about your challenges. And what you just said is really kind of what's happened recently with Black Box. The way you articulate it is great. People coming in, but then new blood coming in, and re-energizing things and re-energizing yourself. I feel, my voice is taken. I would love to see, I guess for myself, when I'm my fullest self, the Marianne Williamson quote,
right.
We kind of fear the light. And, what you also said, the thing that we can fear the most is actually the most extraordinary. It is that unknown. I guess for me, the fear that I live in is I don't mind the unknown, and I'd like to go deeper in it. But as I go deeper in it, I have these other things that I might consider, which are the family, the people. I don't go and rush foolishly, and I'm not doing anything, and just jumping off a cliff without looking that there might be some water down there. But that's the other part. I'd like to go deeper, farther, and
how's that parallel with you standing off stage, getting ready to come onto stage and live in another paradigm? It's kind of similar, right? Because there's all that anxiety off stage, right?
Totally.
And then it's like you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how the audience is going to respond. You got to trust your preparation. You got to step into the unknown and see what happens.
Yeah, I took one of our talent out the other day for lunch, and he goes, "Hey Frank, some of your speeches, you did, and I wasn't all the fan of it, but boy, when you do some of these other ones, and they're the small, it's like magic." And I'm like, "Well, which ones didn't you like? Let me see if I can fix that." Because you're right, you got to stand up. There's been time where I'm standing up at a mixed bag of tricks, and it's like being a stand-up comedian. I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to try to say what I want to say." And you know what's interesting? My business partner said this. He said, "Frank, when you're truest self and you're saying what you're saying, it's magic." And he knows when I might have borrowed something. And I do that out of maybe fear or anxiety, like I'm going to borrow something to say. But, when you're full of self, and I would say to all the listeners that are doing whatever they're doing, it's like, just do it. Just fuck it. Do it. Be yourself. And I have to hold myself accountable to that too, because oftentimes being an actor, being a comedian, being somebody who grew up in a large family where you might want to be careful about being yourself because you might get caught out on something. But working with you, Tommy, you do that. And you bring out the best in talent, and I think that's an important.
Well, that seems like that's typically what you're doing. But if you're anxious or you're thinking that because the world has adjusted itself around you, that your inability to all of a sudden adapt takes us back into sort of a primal, baboon state where all the baboons congregate on the mountain afraid that the panther might come, so you got all the big macho baboons running around like acting like they're going to protect all the females from the panther that could be around the corner. But it's proven that those baboons are very conscientious and actually fear-based, which sets up a whole nother type of a culture that doesn't function on a creative level.
Yeah.
It's like, and so the escaping that primal posturing, and then having the courage to step in and trust that all of this earthly wisdom that you have as a human being, and then trusting your education and understanding that, just like an actor, having to adapt to the reality of what actually is happening on stage, and taking that into account and letting that nuance your performance is a good metaphor for life.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what you're going to get when you walk into that place with 35 people, and all of a sudden, wow, I wasn't expecting that today. And the success of that, your entire corporation rests on your ability to adapt.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. When you were talking, I was thinking of a story. I used to have, Tom, this, I was running a much larger organization called Mosaic Digital Studios, and there was a flagship called Electrofilm. We had companies Leipzig, Cologne, Stuttgart, Babelsberg, Berlin, London, And, and I was president of a division, and I ran things very differently. I ran things in that sort of macho type of situation. I was the boss. I had a lot of control. I sat at the head of the table. No one touched that table or that chair. I had a boardroom. I walked in, and, I had the posturing, and, and I had the authority behind it. And then I get into the small company with a bunch of millennials, and a couple of times.
What softened you?
Well, this is it. I mean, what stopped me, I come into the room one time, and someone's sitting at the head of the table in my chair, and I'm what the
You didn't push him off?
And I'm like, I thought about it. I did a little posturing. There was a little time like my ego go, you know what, that's the chair for, and I almost want to say, you want that chair, you can have the title that goes with it, the responsibility. But I also said, is that it? And then what Tom just said is, it's a creative company. And I had to adjust my ego, and we still have some posturing. With
What is ego? How are you perceiving that to be an obstruction to your ability to be effective? Which is interesting.
I guess it goes back to that voice. I think when ego disappears is when you're completely sincere and honest about who yourself. You know it. It's almost like the ego is the thing that sneaks in that protects you, like that baboon story you told. It's like it's a thing that it's almost like a protective device. It's like I got to put up the front. The ego becomes the thing that is my shield and my armor, and when I pull it down, I'm not safe. But when you pull it down, you're at your most powerful self.
You're creative.
Yeah, and you're creative.
You're creative at that point.
And we're not even, we could do so much more, and there's some of that old, guard bug in our company that we're trying to work with. We're working with somebody to help out. We're trying to do different types of things within the company. We do a lot of different things with our staff.
So how do we identify the ego? How do we identify the obstruction? So there's been a lot of thought put into that. So basically, the ego has to come from a preconceived notion or a series of ideologies that are locked in our educational aspects or in a procedural aspect. And so within a certain procedure, we have our expectations that things have to be as they are in order to do the things that you do. So like if you have a like, or somebody knows what you don't like, so your vulnerability is going to exist in understanding. If somebody understands what you don't like, they have control over you. Right. So
or what you're afraid of,
or what you're afraid of. Now all of a sudden you've limited your ability to adapt. Blinders come on because now it's just this one concept. That's not actually existing in the space that you're working in.
Right.
Or having to adapt to. It doesn't allow for an adaptation. It doesn't allow for a creative solution. It doesn't allow for the nuanced ability to say, wow, that person's hurting, or that person is in a certain place in themselves. How can I help them? It goes, I'm not interested in helping you. Get out of the way. I don't see you. So the blinders of the ego is I don't see you. You must obey my principle.
Right.
And that's where the ego comes up. And we've had many people. We've had athletes come in. We have boxers come in. Like we had Malcolm the Punisher McAllister come in.
Nice.
And he's talking about, when he's most vulnerable in the ring. And he says, I'm most vulnerable in the ring when I get mad. When I get mad, there's a good chance I'm going to get knocked out because I'm not really going to be able to adapt to what's coming at me.
Yeah.
And for a CEO, that probably holds true.
I think it's the same. Yeah.
Especially in your creative, it's just not like you got a bunch of button pushers or paper pushers that have a certain amount of responsibility. I got to get through a certain amount of paperwork per day. And if they get through that and then whatever is on their desk, they finish. It's, wow, how are we as a team going to stay out of our own way?
Yeah.
And see the opportunities that all of us are bringing. That's freaking. It's like an ensemble. It's like a great ensemble.
Yeah.
When it's working well. All it takes is one ego to stop the whole train.
Yeah. We got a little bit of that, and you're right. And
self-importance.
Well, it's inevitable because if that's out of the way, then there's a level of freedom that that can exist if that's not there.
Yeah.
Right. But there's always a little bit of ego in the creative field because it's very personal. When I was in architecture and design school and, the different projects that work on clients, you have the client's ego, and then you have the creator's ego a little bit that's driving, and some of that's necessary for.
No, you're right. With I think with lead creatives, especially like an architect or design schools, is that ego is, for whatever it is, it's a powerful force. It's and you think about some of the great, Frank Gehry has a huge ego.
Yeah.
Well, let's preface that a little bit. Now you're saying ego is definitely a part of us. So it's there to serve us in a particular way. So there's a concept of egoist, when the ego aligns itself with higher states of consciousness. Yeah. And so that's when you get the powerful artist, because what it is that his ego is now attached to his creative impetus to adapt. And so there's a difference between an actor off stage and one that's going onto the stage. A great actor off stage and a great actor that enters the stage. The great actor off stage can posture, but the great actor, the moment he steps into that realm, he must be free of it. Otherwise, he won't be able to adapt to the reality of his circumstances, and the audience won't experience him, and his entertainment value will go down the toilet.
Yeah, you kind of hit both sides of it. I think you're spot on. One is the ego for the individual. If you're an individual artist, you might be able to do that and use it for whatever, like in the purpose of a great architect or an artist or an athlete. But when it comes to play in a team environment where everybody is important to plug in their ideas, that one strong ego, if it's personalized to that individual, it creates tension, and it's kind of that dark cloud. It doesn't allow for the play. It can be helpful, and it can be great in the room if you understand how to use it and put it in check. But if it dominates a position, then freedom can't play. And I remember there were times from when we were evolving as a company. There's the explosion when you start a company. We started a company in 2010. 8 years ago. When you started, there's magic and fun, and then there's a little drama as you're checking yourself, and by year 3 you're getting a stride. When 2015 hit, it was just exceptional. We had people singing in the hallways. People were dressing up in characters to win a campaign. There was the article that I sent you where we were doing I think it was barbershop one of the barbershop film series, and I told the team, hey, if this is going to be really fun. If we win a 360 campaign, I'm going to shave my head. And they're like, no. And I said, no. And I had long hair. You remember I had my long.
Yeah.
I said, no, I'm going to shave my head. And they're like, okay. And then I remember getting a call from one of our producers and say, hey, get the shears ready. You're going to shave your head because we're in the campaign. And I bring that up because it's a team environment, and if you can have an ego, I guess, if you're going to use it in the proper way. But in this environment, when we were at our best, there was an energy, and you guys know, since you're
an ability to take risks too.
Yeah, you got to take the risk. But I was going to say, like, you walk into a company or into environment, you can almost smell success by the way people's body language is and what they're doing and how they're talking. And you can walk into a room and go, man, unless it's just they're doing coding and they're like, but if it's an environment that's creative, you can see how it's going. And the irony is, in that point, in our most optimal point, we were winning every single campaign.
Nice.
We were knocking it out of the park. The team was energized.
You're in that sweet spot.
Man, we were in our sweet spot. And then you hit, kind of the growing pains. You grow too fast. You have to, So now we've optimized and we're in it. We're trying to get back to that magic, but also at the same time, profitability is key. You want to keep that growth and opportunity.
That's where the objectivity and the playfulness go well together.
Yeah, and it's fun. But I really like how you position it. That it is theater. It is going on stage. And as leaders, we have to go on and we have to be on point. And you can't come in restful. And I read so many different things about articles that are making better leaders or positioning voice or meeting up with other entrepreneurs or creatives. You have to be a lifelong learner if you're going to be in this business. I think the thing that I would fear is if I ever stop doing something, because I think then I've really don't earn the right to continue the march and have the success. I think that's important. I think you got to do these types of things, and you got to get out and meet people and inspire. And I feel if I've done that to the fullest of myself, then there's nothing more than I can be proud of it. And then there's no regrets. Getting up early in the morning, getting up at 5:30 and hitting the gym and making sure I get my exercise and then do my meditation practice and read before that and work with my team and take a call at night. And I tell my team, my senior management team, if they need anything, and I was talking I was doing a mentor session in the car right over for 45 minutes. I'm mentoring one of my executives on it. And it was great. It was fascinating. Just talking to making sure oh shit, I better make the right turn here. But I love that.
You're in San Diego.
Yeah. And I was like, wait, how did I get here? But I love that process, and I think that's important. And I don't think if people just stop and I want to do that forever. Someone said, so hey, what happens with the company? Is it an exit strategy? I said, no, I want to see this thing going. I want to see someone else take it over.
Yeah.
I want to see one of my leaders in here just continue and that brand, and I want to help them and guide them. I'd like if I'm 85 or 90, I want to still be coming in and go, hey guys, how we doing?
What do you got to go like a 127-year-old grandparent, don't you?
Right, yeah, exactly. I do. Yeah,
you do. Like 150 yet?
Exactly.
So you'll probably be around for a long time.
Exactly.
So listen, I mean, we got just a minute or two left. What do you want? Is there anything that you've left on the table that you'd like to share with us, or think about our audience? And
well, we had a guy write in. This guy Shanghai Jack is writing up a story.
Great! What did he say?
But he wants to know what he can do to help what you're passionate about.
Wow, what he can do to help what I'm passionate about?
What people can do to support you. Your mission.
With my mission, come see us, come to Black Box, come play in our space, come be part of, a story. One of the hard things is my staff think I'm nuts because any time I meet someone, I get inspired. I think we interview them. I'm like, we don't have enough time. It's like if we bring, I love people being part of it. I also think it's a two-way street. I want to be supportive of other people. So I think, we're here to kind of all lift each other up. So that thank you to the, to the listener. But I guess it's, what have I left on the table? We've said so much. I could sit here.
You've dropped some serious dimes here, and it's really beautiful. How you've taken us into this particular type of a journey that maybe somebody might have perceived to be stale or static, but understand that anybody that endeavors into even the marketing aspect of this industry, and if they were creatives or they still want to remain creative, that the marketing industry is a place where you can actually exercise that to the fullest degree.
Yeah, I thinking of what the caller had said and what you were saying and what I had left on the table is maybe a couple things that come to mind is, it is a journey. I'd like to see, here we are and peeking into the future. And what does it look like for me? And what is it, and then also, what are the things that I've wanted to do with my own voice is to show people how much we care about what we do, and if there could be an exploration process, a documentarian that comes in and sees what we are, because we're doing some amazing things. And I know creative companies like us, they have similar qualities. There's a lot of companies that do what we do. I think we're a little different, but there's a story to be told for all of us. I'd love to see, I'd love to see someone come in and engage our staff and have a chat with them, and maybe it is something, and come and see where we are. We're on a studio lot. It used to be Buster Keaton's film studio. There's 65 companies. Johnny Depp has a little place there. Amy Poehler, Noman, which is a visual effects school. Alec and Darren are my buddies. Shout out to Noman. They're an amazing visual effects school. There's Edge, which is a dance school. It's probably one of the number one in the nation. It's just a
lot
great
of creative
fun.
energy.
Tons, and it's an old studio lot. It's still, it's got, it's like my wife calls it a rabbit warren. But the space itself is just a story. And then here we are, this modern, creative, energized company within this 100-year-old context. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, listen, you came to the right guy. Just ask me to set me up with the budget.
Okay.
I'll come in for 6 months and make your freaking documentary.
$50.
$50. You cheap bastard.
A lot of fun. That's the tribal way is to pass along stories of how you do things to other people so they can become inspired and learn from those ways.
That would be a fascinating.
You know what? That's great. I'm glad you brought that up. I would love to do that. Someone said that, and I think I was talking with my CFO. He said, to pass on that story. It's like, we've done a lot of things, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs, but I don't know what happens tomorrow. I'm excited about it. I'm hopeful about it, but there's a story to be told, and we've learned a lot, and I think there's so much more that can be passed on to people. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's the greatest gift, whether it's passing on something.
Frank Donner, you're a gift, my brother. You're a gift, and you've been a gift to JoyScore, and we're honored to have you come in. If you have anything else you want to share later on down the road, big projects, or you have like the most enlightened epiphany ever, and you feel like you want a little platform to put it out on, but you have your own marketing company, you could just put it out there. But you could also come back and
I'd
share,
love to, Tom.
and share any of your gifts with us, and our audience has been privileged to have you. Hey, this has been JoyScore, people. We got started a little late. That was Frank Donner, freaking Black
creative
Box,
genius,
creative group, artist,
visionary,
become CEO, Oscar-nominated producer, and he's graced us with his presence and tons of words of wisdom. And if you want to take a look at Frank's interview, you can just go to @JoyScore, and you can watch this thing on your own accord. And it's at JoyScore. We have all sorts of wonderful, inspirational stories going on with guys like Frank. And so Thomas,
go to Chris is video number 3.
Chris Von Hoffmann is coming up next, folks.
I'm ready to make the Dawsons great again. Listen up, Miles. And open your goddamn ears. Look around, what do you see? It's a wasteland. There are no more rules. People do whatever they want. It's complete chaos.
No.
It's up
Oh, it
now.
is? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You can rewind it.
Wow.
Oh,
Hey, we're back on, baby.
Okay.
We're back
Ciao.
on the JoyScore. We got Chris
right.
Von.
Send Chris through.
We got Chris Von Hoffmann, indie filmmaker, who's been very patient with us this evening because of our little setback, our little electronical glitch with all of this wonderful electronic equipment. That stuff happens.
Glitch in a matrix.
What are
That was beautiful. It was a lot of fun.
How about those the words of wisdom?
Yeah. Very inspiring, and I love seeing a person that's committed to their own evolution, and at the same time, like working with what he's built. So
Extremely loyal.
Yeah.
You know, you get a sense of that he's taken on a huge responsibility of taking on the family, taking on the corporate existence, taking on Hollywood, trying to stay vital, staying connected to his humanity and trying to bring that into his job every day. That's a huge accomplishment in itself.
That's someone walking balance between mind, body, spirit, and heart, I think.
Mind, body, spirit, heart, and family, and job, and all of that wonderful stuff. I mean, I know he's got some good quotes in there because I was hearing what he was saying.
I was typing up stuff, and
what'd you type up? What'd you find?
Well, the one I really loved was that he put in here. I gotta find it because we've had a lot of writing on the wall here. When you pull down the ego, you are in the most powerful place with self, or your powerful self. So when you drop that ego, you're in your full power.
Nice. I love that. I love that.
I think that's reminiscent of that play energy. You know, allowing that play to be there versus being into some, posturing or trying to control something.
Yeah, that was interesting how he would manage to deal with the fear aspect and then connect that to the ego aspect, and then watch him sort of work through that, and then understand what he's stepping into every day when he goes to work.
Yeah, well, running a company like that, you're like responsible for all those people and all those mouths, so that's like this great place of possibility, and then also like I think I sense that he takes full responsibility for that, as if they were his own family.
Extremely. He's fun. It's been fun watching him grow as an artist and spread his wings as a entrepreneur, and then into this very successful Black Box Creative Group.
Well, and I would think that you had some impact, because your gifts of teaching people how to be present and step into their craft. I really do feel such a crossover to everyday reality, even running a company.
Well, on a high level, if you need results, but I don't, it's sort of when you're dealing with artists working together, trying to figure out what that magic algorithm is to that audience. Anybody you're working with is always teaching you. Right. It's a constant learning moment. It's so many teachable moments, but we're actually teaching each other. The teacher-student thing goes away. It's like who's teacher, who's student.
Yeah.
Whoever we're watching in their work is teaching us, and when we have the opportunity to throw in our 2 cents worth, then
we're teaching.
So it's Frank. It's always been like that.
Nice.
Watching him do his thing. Where's Chris?
Thomas, do you mind grabbing Chris? You can just leave us like that. We're on a split screen, so we can keep chatting it up.
No, but it's you should go over there. Check out the studio. They've got
it would be fun
all
to check
sorts
it out.
They got they've got
We could just do a little JoyScore drop in. We could do a little thing like we do with the ice cream parlor. Go in there and interview some people. Check them out.
It's a fascinating space. He's got all these little creative places where the people do have their little think tanks, and they have the places where they actually create
I love
material.
places like that. It reminds me of college. It's just so much fun to be in those spaces.
A
lot of fun.
Yeah, we finally got
the man awaiting.
Yes.
You have been the most amazing.
Oh no, it's great.
I love your attitude.
How is that?
You might need to squish him down. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Does that sound too soundy?
It's a bit loud.
Okay,
Just a tweak a little lower. It's all right.
Okay, we got it. Okay, give me a little sound test. Hey. How's that, better?
Yeah, it's fine.
Is it going down?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
How about that?
No, it's good.
Hey, the man sensitive. We have Chris Von Hoffmann in the studio, freaking talented young filmmaker. You got a film out now, right? The Monster Party.
Yeah, Monster Party just came out this past Friday.
How do you feel?
Is that the Lemling, right? Today?
Yeah, I mean, it was there. I think tomorrow was actually the last day it's there. But
okay.
Yeah, it was select theaters across the country, and but it's they just machine gun it out on all digital and HD platforms and all that stuff.
You look like such a young man. How'd you get into this very competitive, dynamic field?
Just massive tunnel vision for just 30 years of my life.
30 years?
Yeah.
Are you
Did you start this when you were 2?
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, honestly, that's not that far from an exaggeration.
You loved. What was your first camera you had?
You can pull that thing to you if you want. If you want to lean back, it's up to you.
I had a small little high A camera when I was 8 years old or so, and but before that I'd used my my dad. He was a photographer in the '80s, and he had some equipment, and he had one of those big. He also had one of those big news reporter April O'Neil kind of cameras.
The big PAL camera.
Oh yeah,
VHS.
You load up the tape on the side and all that, total old school. And so I just shot tons of stuff on that camera, and then they eventually bought me a high A camera when I was 7.
How were you editing on that thing back then?
I wasn't. I didn't really know the process of editing.
Yeah.
So I just kind of shot everything in camera and edited in camera, and I would always kind of get bored with whatever story I was telling, and I would kind of jump on to the next thing. And I had very short attention span with what I was making.
How do you find the themes to tell your stories? Where are you pulling from?
I think I've always been really attracted to I guess sort of sensational storytelling. I love the genres horror, thriller, dark comedies, action movies, crime movies. But I think underneath it, I always want to definitely put a lot of my personality into it, a lot of I guess where I'm coming from, I guess from I guess I like to put a lot of subtext in my stories, and always kind of pull from something from my childhood, from something very personal to me, from my upbringing, and try to slip it underneath so it is more than what it is, basically.
Are you doing the directing and the camera operating, or these days? Or
not so much camera operating now. I mean, I've definitely done camera operating in the past on my own stuff, definitely. Done it on on 16 millimeter film as well, which is kind of cool.
Are you writing it too?
Oh yeah, I definitely write. Yeah.
Is 16 millimeter coming back?
I hope so. I mean, like, it's very like I hear like in Rome, there's like this big rebirth of like 8mm film.
I love it. It has such a nice quality.
Oh, I love 16mm. I mean, because like for me, 16mm film looks like what 35mm looked like back then, and 35mm almost looks like digital these days.
Yeah.
So I mean, but.
Well, listen, you must be sort of I guess as you've realized, people are following you into your vision. So that's a leadership position. I mean, is it just people so intrigued with your talent, or do they just, or how are you, how do you organize all these people? Like, how are you, did you just find it natural to go, hey, light, that's not quite right, that's not quite right, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know, I think a lot of, I mean, I definitely get very obsessive, and I just sort of embrace literally every aspect of the movie, and I think a lot of filmmakers just, kind of like the image of being a director, and they don't really put in the right work, and like they don't really. What is
the right work for a director? Just for our audience, because you know what, everybody wants to direct.
Well, I think
I think we all want to direct some aspect of our life.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best definition of a director is like the last man standing, and I think like that's I think you just really gotta. I mean, it's it's a very demoralizing job, and like it's not really that glamorous as people think it is, and you suffer from a lot of like there's a lot of like emotional turmoil and like relentless depression.
Can you think of a moment where it was really relentless?
Well, yeah, I mean, like on Monster Party, I mean, the post production process was just like really trying to kind of crack it and get it right, because there was also a lot of other people involved. There were a lot of cooks in the kitchen, a lot of producers, a lot of opinions. It was my first like big movie. I mean, it was like just under $1 million, but it was like a huge movie for me.
Oh heck, yeah.
So I mean, and just an ensemble of like professional actors. A lot of them I'd seen in movies and TV shows.
How about that?
Years.
How about that? So what happened?
That was pretty trippy.
That might have been a bit of a low moment, but how about the moment said, "Hey man, you got $1 million to do your movie"? I
mean, that's like because it was such a. I mean, I definitely felt it definitely felt like. I definitely felt like it was like earned, because it was just like definitely like certainly a very tedious development process getting there, and it was not just really made me a much better writer just getting that script just fully financed, and because it was never supposed to be the budget ended up being was going to be a lot lower than it ended up getting a little bit more, so and a lot more people got involved, so I mean I was very blessed.
So you seem like a very introspective fellow.
Yeah, I would say so.
Detail oriented.
Oh yeah.
So when you go into your you seem like you're actually very present right now.
Oh yeah.
Seems like you're very much in the room.
Totally, yeah.
So who taught you that?
I mean, I probably get a lot of that from my father. Maybe. I mean, he. I am definitely like my parents' kid. I mean, like my father and my mother. I definitely am very much a splice between both of them.
Were they very present and sort of detail oriented, or passionately into trying to capture a moment? Because that's pretty much what you're doing. You're trying to capture a moment. You're trying to capture life in the frame. You're trying to. That's what that still camera really helps you do. You used to have like one click to try to capture like a magic moment.
Oh yeah.
So I guess your old man was probably obsessed with that as well. Like, where is that moment? And just clicking away. And then
I mean, he was a photographer all throughout the '80s, and he was like very detail oriented. On like he did a lot of like sort of like Bud Light advertisements and Coors Light advertising. He photographed like Leslie Nielsen and Grace Kelly right before she passed away in like 1991.
Wow,
so,
beautiful.
Did that get you right into your understanding of light?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, he had I didn't really start like properly start to finish editing, making movies until it was around like 2021, because before that I was actually pursuing a lot of acting. Still like I was always writing. I actually consider myself a writer first and a director second.
Actor first, writer.
I'd say like a
actor first, writer,
actor,
director.
I guess all that stuff can happen right away in the beginning, but writing, I was just like writing short stories all the time and just writing all the time, and I really enjoy writing. But yeah, I mean like that's I mean like I think with my dad, he just had this sort of attention to detail with these sort of advertisements, and I definitely he had a lot of C-stands, and he had this like old kind of creaky tripod that was like falling apart as I was making this movie when I was like 20, and that was like when I was like 20, that was like my first time actually making something from beginning to end and getting a bunch of actors and learning how to put together a movie.
Right.
And then I just never stopped from that point on. But before that, I just made a bunch of unfinished shorts. But I was always filming stuff and always writing stuff all throughout since like birth.
Where did the inspiration come with your writing?
I don't know, because like there's not I mean I always like did I mean English dynamics was always like my class in high school. I mean that was like
English dynamics.
Yeah, I mean like that's like
I didn't have that class in high school.
Really? I mean like I get that's what it was called. And I remember like that's
that sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean it was just I don't know, that was always the class that I was very attracted to. I was like terrible at math and science and all that stuff, but I was like really good with words, and I really enjoy sending emails even. You know, I just love like writing. You know, any form of writing I really enjoy doing, and yeah. I mean, I don't because like no one. I mean, my uncle's kind of dabbled in writing a little bit. My father's always like kind of dabbled in a little writing, and he was writing a book for a little bit. But I just I don't know really. I don't know really where. I mean, my brother certainly wrote. He would write music a little bit.
It's quite a jump though, right? You write a piece of material, and then you're like, okay, how am I gonna execute this thing?
Yeah, I mean, like that's a whole tedious process in and of itself. And I think since I just sort of like been. I guess I've had this like 30-year film school in a way, and because I didn't go to a film school, and I'm. Not to say I'm like anti-film school, but I don't know. I meet a lot of these like kids that go to these film schools, and like they're taught such a sort of like mechanical way of telling stories, and they really don't have much of a point of view on the world, and they don't really know what an audience wants. And
what does an audience want?
They just want to be entertained, man. But they also want something underneath it too. They want some sort of statement about like the world that we live in.
So listen, that's really kind of like what it's about, right?
Yeah, man.
And
something different too.
So you're really this is like. Because I see you like and I want to get to the bottom. I want to somehow crack this enlightened veneer that you have.
Yeah.
Because it seems like innately you have an intuitive sense of what to do, and it's this intangible aspect that really makes a film a film.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're bringing all of these parts together. You got your crew, you got your actors. How do you know when it's really working?
I mean, I think.
Do you have a barometer? Like, how do you know when it's time to move on, other than the light going down?
I mean, I think. Well, I just like as far as like when you're ready, like when you've like finished the movie.
No, like when you're in your process. So so you're set up. You got all your parts in place, and you start rolling, and you've got this process that's trying to unfold. It's trying to show itself to you, right? So how do you know that it's time to move on?
I think I mean in the beginning I sort of like kind of certainly in like the early beginning you always kind of like struggle a little bit, like do you know if you got it or not, but like I think over the last several years I really like it's definitely like a gut instinct, and I just it comes really down to cuz I just try to like prep as like as much as possible, and like to the most tedious degree, and so I think like I just see the movie in my head for such a long period of time, like every waking hour. So like once I see it on screen, it's like you just like gotta just. I mean, like once you see it, what's in your head. I mean, I've gotten a lot better about that. Of just like understanding like right off the bat, like that's exactly how I saw it in my head, and or it's like almost it's almost like quite there, and like the problem always happens like when you have like such like truncated schedules and like so like super tight schedules where it's like. You just, sometimes you can't get everything 100% perfect, but like that's always like I say like that's like a goal, not a destination, but you definitely just try to make like the best version of that script possible, and it's always a gut thing.
Just from the little bit that I've seen, and I'm definitely going to see both of your features. The style, it seems like
I like the style.
Seems like you've managed to etch out your own style. Do you feel you have a style now? Do you feel like you're starting to see some crossover between the films that you're making?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of like a thematic crossover, definitely. Just stuff that I guess like I start to like understand like what kind of performances I like and what kind of. I think it really comes down to like the tone. I think I really know at this point I'm very like specific and very clear about like the tone that I'm going for. No matter what the story is, but I just know like the kind of tone of performance that I go for, and
which is
just like I like no matter what the story is, I like sort of like raw and grounded, but just like slightly heightened at the same time, where like it reminds you that you're in a movie, but just like slightly heightened, but just like but also still like very like raw. And I like I know like the kind of faces that I want on camera and all that, and I'm not looking for like kind of goofy looking faces, like, very like raw, kind of like,
You wouldn't put Jim Carrey on.
Oh, I mean, like, well, no, he's phenomenal, but I mean, I guess, like, I don't know.
That's a goofy face that comes to mind. He's the master of goofy face.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you should see this movie called Rubber Face that he did before he was anybody. It's like all about him stretching his face out and showing the audience what he could do with his face. It was like 1991 or something.
I love it.
Yeah,
but during this process, I'm still not asking him the right questions. I'm still not zeroing in on what I got to get from this
you guys have a similarity here, Thomas.
Talented young man.
Thomas is always
because I'm trying to like get the magic algorithm. You know what I mean? Because each one of these extremely talented people are in touch with an aspect of something that somebody else doesn't necessarily see, but when they see it in the frame, it's living.
Yeah.
And these gentlemen have a sense of when it's living and when it's not. And that's a very, very refined skill.
Absolutely.
And you seem like I'm talking about you like you're not freaking here. But I'm talking to her now.
Yeah.
Well,
but you can kind of feel where I'm trying. Yeah, you talked about tone. But that's
a base.
I mean, like,
you talk about.
I think I know what to bring up to connecting to that. I mean, like, when I say like tone, I think okay. Well, I mean, like I had a very sort of I guess troublesome relationship with my older brother growing up, and he unfortunately he's actually no longer with us, and
that sucks.
And it's been like 10 years or so, and so, like, growing up around his people that he would
By the way,
bring
you're
home.
not actually an older brother unless you're a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Sorry.
His people he'd bring around.
It was like the kind of kids that he would
associate
with, and the kind of things that he would expose me to at a very young age. And I was always and him and I were actually very polar opposite kind of people. The only similarity we
pull
really
that mic
had.
to you another 2 inches.
Sorry.
No, it's not you. It's us.
The only similarity that him and I might have had that was like that we kind of looked like each other, but just the people that he would bring around, the things he would expose me to, and I think a lot of that kind of tone of like the world that he came from, that he was involved in. I think I pull a lot from that and try to put a sort of cinematic elements on top of it to give it a heightened feel. But I'm always like pulling from something very personal.
Is that where the dark satirical side of yourself came from?
Yeah, I mean, like, just his sense of humor and like the kind of like, because him and I had very similar sense of humor as well. But like that, I will say that was like a big part of the kind of stories that I'm attracted to and the kind of tone that I'm trying to put underneath the stories.
Because like when you're sitting here with me, I feel like you're right here with me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's not common.
Oh yeah, well that's I'm right here with you. I'm right here.
Well, that's
present. You're very present.
Well, this Joy Score is about this show is about like how the hell do we become you?
Yeah.
How do we get right here?
Mm-hmm.
Because I would bet if you take care of yourself and you eat good and you get your rest, that you're just going to keep growing like a damn beanstalk, And I don't feel like I have a man in front of me that has a cap, and that's kind of rare.
Yeah.
And maybe you know that about yourself, and you probably heard that from other people, but I don't get to sit in front of somebody that's in their body, paying attention, actually listening.
Yeah, I mean,
feeling like there's nothing else in the world except you in that chair in this space.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's inspiring.
Yeah,
it's probably a huge grounding force in how you're able to lead a production. People probably get that sense about you.
Yeah, I guess I've just I guess this. I mean, like that's.
Is there a philosophy? Are you a religious, spiritual man?
I mean, I'm kind of like an agnostic kind of person. I mean, like I'm not. I am like sort of like spiritual about certain things, but I mean, like I don't. I believe in things like I think the key to happiness is always thinking that like things always happen for a reason, and like if things are meant to be, they're meant to be, and no two people can share the same path, so there's no point comparing yourself to others. And
That's a nice one.
What is that? How huge is that?
Those are like the last.
Especially in a world of, you're talking about destiny, baby.
Those things have I had a big like revelation like back. I had like finished my movie like back in February.
Okay, now we're getting to the juicy stuff.
I like finished my movie back in February, and it was like a big chapter in my life. And I was like, if I can get through that, I felt like I was like invincible for like a month.
Wow.
I feel like if I got through that, man, because like that was like that process was like that was like a true, in the best possible way, but a true baptism by fire.
Well, you remind me. I mean, the determination. I don't think people understand the determination it takes to get through a feature. At the helm, as a director and as a participant in the editing process, or even editing it yourself. Because there's another guy that I'm a huge fan of, Michael S. Ojeda. Mm-hmm. And I had the privilege of acting with this guy. He was my DP in one film in '96, and then he brought me on in a film in 2015. And so I've known this cat for a long time, and he's one of the toughest, most determined, follow-through individual I've ever known.
Yeah.
And there's an aspect that you share with him, but then you have your own unique perspective, and it seems like you're just taking life moment to moment, and you're learning from it. It seems like life's a learning moment for you.
Yeah, I mean, I just,
and you're not saying that you're attaching it to any sort of a conscientious practice. You've just tapped into the fact that you like being here, and here is where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, like exactly. I mean, I don't know. I definitely like. I think every person who sort of like, I guess, like creates stuff or like writes, I think suffers from some sort of degree of depression or anxiety and like that.
Do you have that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've sort of like suffered from like I mean, I hate saying suffer. It sounds like I'm like inspiring sympathy or something.
Hey, you're gonna make film, boy. You're gonna suffer.
Sympathy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, I'm just like
I want to inspire sympathy. I'll suffer.
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know. Ever since I was like 14 or 15, I've had this like weird, like odd depression for some reason, but I've never been able to like shake it since then. But it's just sort of like
is it an anxiety that drives you into the moment?
Yeah.
Like does it say I don't want to be there, I'd rather be here? Sort of a perspective.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. Yeah. I mean, like, well, just I think I like having all these sort of like depression, anxiety, all these like kind of like things in me, because I think it does like drive me forward in a way.
Well, I think you would have to be somewhat depressed sometimes to access some of the subject matter that you're doing,
yeah.
like to give you a weird spin on things.
Yeah.
Right? I don't mean like weird in a bad way. I mean like
it's kind of like it's his dark comedy to make a dark film.
Yeah,
he's getting a kick out of saying, "Yeah, that's fucked up."
It is your destiny.
Yeah, I mean, I like my dad's always asking me like, can't you make like a film that isn't like, and I'm like, well, it doesnent quite work like that. Like you really have to purge your own
catharsis.
That's why the people that love horror films are like the nicest guy and the nicest people in the world.
Yeah, and let's talk about this dark comedy, because I have kind of a twisted sense of humor. So
me too.
It's fun to like play with that. Like you can walk around the world all day if you're not too caught up in yourself and like observe the satire that's unfolding at all times. So if you can share a little bit with the listeners, because this is Joy Score.
Yeah.
But how, and Thomas, you could speak to this too, how we can like kind of just watch things that people might take on as traumas, but more from like the observer point of view, and see a value of entertainment in them.
Oh yeah.
Like when we saw.
Well, the Joy Score really comes from his ability to derive a huge satisfaction, even though it might be a dark film. The amount of satisfaction and how he keeps himself creative and moving forward into other projects, and how one thing triggers another thing, which allows him to go into his creative process. And that's raising his Joy Score.
Yeah. That's
allowing him to see things fresh, with a fresh pair of eyes, regardless of the subject. That's why I don't want my listeners to get confused, because just because somebody creates a piece of art that reflects the dark side, there's a tremendous exhilaration that can come from creating something that reflects a level of humanity
Yeah.
And doing the work and watching it come together and actually piecing together something that feels like an aspect of life is a huge accomplishment. Whether you're a painter, whether Picasso had his blue phase, and Rodin. If you look at any of his sculptures, that stuff's kind of creepy. It's like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And he's one of our greatest that will ever be. And you can go down the list of Edgar Allan Poe,
absolutely.
I mean, those beautiful descriptions of perspective that describes the belly of the beast,
right?
And the amount of satisfaction that he got out of putting that down to the paper. So you have a creator, you have a filmmaker that's also thriving within the context of what he's perceiving to be dark, but also finding, like you said, it's a satirical comment about society within those structures.
Yeah, I mean that's because that was like the biggest thing, and because like this movie Monster Party that just came out. I mean, I was really happy that actually people saw like the satirical sort of dark humor in it, and like sort of because there's some
then you're seeing
Trump parallels,
you're seeing you up there.
Yeah, I mean that's just my. I guess sense of I just have a very messed up. I mean, I find everything funny, really. I mean, I just.
What are you finding funny about this?
I just think it's I don't know. I find this chair really funny. Like, just sitting. I'm trying to like find the balance of like looking at both you guys equally. Like that's why I've been overthinking in my head right now.
There's no PC. There's no PC in here. Don't worry. We'll jump in and grab your attention.
We won't feel left out.
We're competing with each other.
I'm a very non-PC person.
So she's going to grab your attention when she needs to, and I'll grab it when I got to.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
So the chair's funny, and
no, I love the color. Yeah, I rarely see. It's turquoise, right?
Yeah, like 1950s aqua that was really popular.
No, it's great. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you had to make a horror film about this experience, how would it look?
Oh man, a person that I don't know. This chair comes alive and
and eats you.
Takes over. Yeah, just takes him into another dimension.
This is like Pee Wee's Playhouse. I think you had a chair like that with two eyeballs.
Dog boy. Yeah, no, I love Pee Wee. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that's what's interesting about an artist is that you need to be kind of where you are in the present to pick up these funny human nuances that either make us better or make us worse, or the things that we imagine and fear itself being an illusion. You're playing with our sensitivities. You're playing with our instinctual aspects. You're making us fear the dark places, and you're forcing us to go in there and see what's there.
Yeah.
Right? Is that a big part of like the genre?
Yeah, no, I mean I love I think like a big like a director that sort of like I really like I would love to sort of like model a similar sort of path that he had that I thought was like just a really, I mean, this guy Paul Verhoeven, he did like RoboCop and Starship Troopers and all these films. And like, like the very their design, they were like sort of like promoted to audiences, like wide mainstream audiences, as like, sort of traditional mainstream movies. Like people thought they were going to see like a very mainstream movie in the theaters and the multiplex, but like what they got was somewhat of a commercial mainstream movie with like genre elements, and it's fun and all that, entertaining, but like there was very like non-politically correct, very bold statements about like the world that we're living in, and just satirizing, just like, I mean, I think Starship Troopers is like, it's a fascist, like, sci-fi monster movie and fantasy, and like RoboCop satirizing just like, media, and how like media just like, completely takes, violence just takes over the media, and I love those kind of stories.
Look at him light up. His joy score went up thinking about those guys. I mean,
I just want something underneath. Like I hate these. Because I see a lot of
like depth.
I just see a lot of these like sort of D-grade genre films and all that. Like they're literally nothing beyond what they are, and like they're fun to watch when you're drunk, maybe, but like they're not. They're just gonna fall into like the wasteland of everything else in like a couple years, and you want to make stories that are going to be timeless, and genre is just like the umbrella that I like to put on top of it.
I love what you just said. A timeless element. So what is that? What is that universal thread that runs through your creative work that might keep it on the shelf?
I don't know. I just I think I think there's definitely just a lot of I don't know. There's you always want to put a lot of like truth into the stories, and like elements of every character has to have like elements of your own personality, and I think it's really important to put all of your good traits on film, but also a lot of your bad traits on film, and almost like embarrass yourself on screen. And a lot of filmmakers like just get so caught up with their shots and like there's nothing. The shots are fine, but like there's nothing underneath them, and there's no visual subtext to anything. There's no subtext period. And
so we're sitting here with Chris von Hoffmann, awesome indie filmmaker, and he's talking right now about the insights and the inspirations that he gets from other filmmakers. Just updating. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, man. I'm just I don't know. The horror game. Like there's I don't know. Like there's a lot of like really good horror movies that come out every year, and they're fine, but like they're not.
What's your favorite from back in the past? Because there's something
back in the past.
There's something about everyone kind of likes to be scared. Like we saw Halloween, and it was amazing how full the theater was.
The newest one?
Yeah.
Actually, my friend, an actress who was in Moss Party, is also in that movie as well.
Yeah.
But I loved the new Halloween because what they did, it was like reflecting the Me Too movement in a way, and there was so much because the director that made it's not a horror director; he's like an indie art house director. And his style that he put on top of that story, it was so much bigger than what it was. And I thought like that, I just thought that was like a perfect example of like, I guess like what I'm maybe trying to do. And
I think you're past trying, my friend. I think
you're doing it.
I think you're in it.
Yeah, I just really like, I'm always trying to. I just don't want to just. I think I love horror movies, and it's probably my favorite genre, and to kind of introduce me to movies. But I don't want to make like just typical. I don't want to make. First of all, I don't want to only make horror movies, but also I don't want to make just a horror movie. And like I'm not, I don't care how well made it is. I don't want to. I need something underneath it. And I thought like something like this is such a cliche example, but I will say like something like The Shining is much more. I don't find it really scary, but I find it like so fascinating because there's so much. Talk about like the amount of subtext in that story, and just it's from a non-horror.
So you're talking about this word subtext gets thrown around a lot in our industry, but then you're talking about layering in subtext. So that's basically the ocean of humanity that's swimming beneath your lines. Yeah. So you got the truth going on underneath all that's being said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you got an actor, let's say with a juicy scene, and he goes literally to the text that you wrote and has no subtext, how do you get him out of that? How do you make that a teachable moment? How do you get an actor off the script and into the truth of a scene? Because much of what we say and much of what's written in a script is just topping.
Yeah, I think the real acting is sort of like in between the lines, really, and I think a lot of that comes from like rehearsal and like really like talk, because I try to like there's not much time to like talk on set, so you want to like to have as much like rehearsal I think is good, but I think talking to the actors in advance about like going line by line, going scene by scene, like what does this scene really mean? Like what does it really represent in the story? And I think talking endlessly about the story and about the character and about the lines and about the dialogue and just about the scenes themselves and like what like approach each scene as if its own little short film and I think there should because when I watch a movie I'm actually more fascinated by the actors that are reacting than the ones actually talking. So I think there's so much depth into like how people react to something and less is more, I think,
Well, that's interesting. So you're basically going through it. You're going through it line by line, and you're talking through what's really happening, I guess, between the characters as opposed to what they're saying.
Yeah, I'm not. It always sounds like
Are you an actor's director? Or are you more?
I think so. Yeah, I certainly put a lot of attention on them. Because I studied acting in New York for a while, and I don't look at anything else but the actors when I watch a film.
How do you define a good actor for yourself these days?
Just simple. Someone who's very just simple in their approach and not trying to sort of take over the show, and just someone who's just being there for the other actor and not trying to make it about them, and vice versa, not the other actor trying to make it about them as well. And I just love simplicity and just I love like relaxed kind of acting. And I'm not to say I accomplish that every time, but I'm definitely like I feel like I'm
How do you deal with the different styles of acting that comes up? So you cast like several people, and all of them seemingly have different backgrounds, and then you got to somehow get them all in the same movie. Do you find that to be a challenge?
Yeah, well, I mean, like Monster Party was like a perfect example of that because that was like an ensemble of actors. There were so many characters in that, and a lot of people on screen at once too, and a lot of different character dynamics and a lot of different kind of actors, and. But I think it was just I just had extensive conversations with all of them in advance to explain to them exactly the kind of tone I was going for and exactly kind of like the tempo of like the performance and I think like just every now and then just telling them to keep it simple and not to try too much, and like I know that sounds like weird to say, but like just keep
not
it
to
simple.
me.
Yeah,
doesn't sound weird to me.
Yeah, I mean,
sounds like great advice.
Yeah,
possibly for an actor that doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, because I think like my job is to get like the best performance out of them, and there's certain actors that I mean, like when I like when I'm like sitting in auditions with people or like watching self tapes, I know like within literally 15-20 seconds whether they're like right for the tone or not.
Oh,
I just know instantly.
Interesting.
It starts with the face, and I just work my way outside in, and like
so it's kind of fun, right?
Yeah, I love casting.
Yeah, casting is fun, but it's kind of a challenge to like jump into a location with all your stuff and all your actors, and you only got like maybe 12, maybe you have 2 days there, maybe you have 1 day there, but you got to somehow realize the potential of that moment in that time frame that you have.
It's scary,
and then that's it.
Yeah, it's scary
that you get what you get, and
it's
you go,
really scary, yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's why I try to like just
is that you say scary? You're like, that's your horror movie right there, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, well, it's
your
like,
entire job's a horror movie then, because every time you're stepping into a location, and regardless of how much time you have, like a fine artist, you could be there for a week, but you only got 12 hours.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just like Monster Party. We shot it in 17 days,
Woo!
And if you watch the movie, it I mean, look, I mean, not to say 17 days is a bad schedule for that movie. It was not like 17 days was a very, very truncated schedule for that kind of story because it was just a lot of prosthetics, stunts, set pieces, and all that. But like, it was like an ensemble of actors, and it was a very actor-driven story. And we shot the film anamorphically, and not because it was going to look cool or anything, because we had to fit all these actors in frame. We didn't have time to shoot tons of coverage on each actor all the time for every scene. Right. We had to get as many actors in the frame as possible. So I mean, that was
challenging.
You responded to the challenge.
Because like that was like, I mean, that,
you look at that shooting scale. You wake up, you look at that shooting scale. You're like, holy crap! What have I got myself into?
Well, I mean, like, yeah, I think it was like the first week. I was like, Jesus. I mean, like, this is real movie making now. Like, because I mean, with Drifter, I mean, that was shot in like 12 days, but that didn't really have like that. That was more of a style film. There were a lot of it was a lot of mise en scene.
I loved how you used the light in that thing. That was really.
Yeah, it was very like impressive. Kind of a vibrant fever dream comic book kind of feel.
Yeah, it did. It
also
did
like split into two halves too, so we didn't shoot it all back to back with the days. Whereas like Monster Party was like 3 weeks straight back to back. And we had a decent amount of like soft prep time and some hard prep time, but yeah, once you step on set, it's like. I mean, like 45, 50 people crew and like all the producers on set. I mean, it's just. It was a very, very new experience. It was a very intense
and you're
experience.
at the center of the storm.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, I was blessed that that amount of people believed in me enough based off Drifter, which was cool. But it was a very intense shoot. You know, you don't have much time to be enjoying yourself because it's just it's just so relentlessly truncated.
Well, you're kind of like an actor in that moment, in that you don't have time to reflect. You just got to get in there and do it.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it sounds like so morbid, but I have a tough time, like I guess having a fun time making a movie because I look at it like I'm almost like almost like you're going to war. A little bit, you know.
No, I feel you.
You just want it to be like the greatest thing you could possibly make it, and like and no one's gonna, and you're gonna be the one that everyone's gonna be focusing on when the movie comes out, whether it's good or bad. So like I gotta make sure it's like the best I could possibly make it.
So you're yeah. And,
attention to detail.
But that's fun. Because now you got no regrets looking back, going, I couldn't have done it any differently.
Yeah, I mean, like looking back at that was like, because I just going through that whole process, like with the scripts, with the shooting, with the post production, I just like knew like that was like the maximum version I could possibly have done for that movie. Like that was like I knew that I put all the cards on the table.
You proud of it?
Yeah, man, I'm definitely proud, and I'm really proud that it's getting the response it's getting. Because the first time we had like an audience watch, it was at our distributor screening back in May. We had it at the CAA, and it was like a bunch of distributors, but it was also like 200 people there. Like a lot of people they just want to see it with an audience, and that was the first. I was like literally having heart palpitations that night because I had no idea. I mean, I had seen like individual people had been watching it, like, but I never saw it with like an audience, and I'd seen it so many times, so I like saw every single problem you could possibly think of in the movie, and I just knew all the problems with it, and I was you're petrified that they're going to see all those problems because I'm just so neurotic about that stuff, and
you got no control over that.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I was just really
excited.
I was really and then we had another screening at this festival. The distributor hooked up back in October, and then finally now the movie's released, and seeing other reviews on like Rotten Tomatoes and all that stuff, and I was really really happy that people are really getting the movie.
Nice. Congratulations.
I mean, like, that was...
Congratulations. That's huge.
Yeah, I mean, like,
baby.
I was...
got that movie out there. Got that movie out there. Got that movie out there.
It's, got that
movie out there, ladies and gentlemen.
Because the movie's, it's a little out there, so, I mean, it's pretty straightforward with the story, but, like, it's, it's dealing with some out there elements, so just...
So what do you got to get better at?
I feel like so many things. I gotta,
what's the one thing that inspires you to get better at?
What do you feel? Where do you, if there is a hole in your boat, where do you think it is?
I think I just want to like. I think certainly certainly like doing action, like that's like a big thing. Really want to like master like the art of like action set pieces. Just like really making sure that like, because I just haven't had I've never really worked with like a really proper schedule that ever made sense for the script that I was doing. So I think I'm really anxious to have like a proper schedule for a movie.
Which would allow you to possibly realize your potential and your vision within the construct of whatever story you're telling.
Exactly, yeah. Because there's so many things. I look at every, and I watch like the movies in the past every now and then, and I can still enjoy elements of them. But like I can tell that I just know if it was more of a appropriate schedule.
All right, let's give you your schedule that you want. Your next movie, you got your schedule, okay? So now you're going to go onto that movie and get that schedule. Now, what do you need to get? What are you challenging yourself with? You got your schedule. You got all the time you need. You got all the talent you need. You got all the money you need. Now, where are you putting your focus?
I mean, action's definitely a big part. Like, I just want to make like one of the greatest action scenes ever, and like that's always like been in the back of my head. I mean, like,
that's a nice goal.
Yeah, I mean.
So what's that going to require of you that you don't feel that maybe you're other than maybe it's just experience, right?
Well, I think it's just experience because I mean, I've
a lot of times, you have the people on there that have, that can set that stuff up. You're going to bring somebody on. You're going to bring people that have done that before to advise you, and you're going to do all that and help you get your set pieces in order.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been like sort of like kind of forming a network of people, and I've worked with a stunt coordinator a few times, and like on two different projects. But like but like it's always one of those things where like there's so many because your eyes are always like bigger than the budget and always like bigger than the schedule, and that's always like sort of how I've been always. Well,
the script always presents that, and then you have the reality of making it.
Exactly, yeah, and that's why I've gotten like I think a lot better about understanding and really
understanding what,
just like making sure that like this script and the story really kind of matches up with the schedule. I think I was sometimes a little too. Perhaps like maybe there was times where I was like a little too overly ambitious with what I wanted to do, and that's probably why I was just like getting old before my time trying to get it on screen, and because it was just like I was like just going nuts trying to do it, but like I just shot this thing back in September, and like this it was like this short film segment of an anthology, and that was like I really because I knew so much going into that, and it was just a short film, but it was like it was like 3 nights, which is still a very truncated schedule for what we were trying to do, but I made sure that I just like designed it perfectly to fit that schedule, and it went very well, and I'm very proud of like what we've got.
So that your sense of you being able to see and achieve what you wanted to achieve, you kind of realized that
I feel like
to stress everybody out with an over ambitious schedule is not as effective as possibly figuring out where to make edits and then shoot what you can shoot more effectively.
Exactly, yeah. I feel like I've gotten a lot more understanding of how that works. Because like Monster Party, I think was just it was really like just jumping right into the fire. And like, it was
baptism
really,
by
it was
fire.
so true baptism by fire.
Well, if you have a good grip on the theme of your material, you can make effective choices to keep the theme alive, very much alive, and yet get rid of some of the superfluous stuff that would enhance the film, but not necessarily move your theme along.
Yeah, that's true.
So being that good editor, when you're saddled with actually bringing it to life, I guess developing those pair of eyes that knows what to cut that might have an entertainment value, but doesn't necessarily move the story along, because the story is going to be there without it.
Exactly.
Or the story will exist with these essential elements, which will hopefully encapsulate this timeless thread that you're talking about, that will give the film shelf life, because it'll have the human element to it, as opposed to one more car crash or one more
that's like
one more prosthetic. Or
that's definitely the thing, because I think in the last year or so I've really gotten more and more obsessed about just storytelling and really making sure, because what people don't understand is that, like, especially like film school kids, is like style and like technique and all that stuff, it kind of changes and transforms like over time. But like if you can like really connect someone with a story and characters, that can last maybe forever.
So you're gonna make the classics.
Yeah, I mean, like
that
that's
we
like,
watch over and over again.
Yeah, I mean that's because I really I really do want to make stories with very strong universul themes, and I really do want to make stories that really truly do penetrate and connect.
Well, what's a strong universal theme for you these days? Are you pulling from the political spectrum? Or are you pulling from a more
like this
mythological, archetypal?
I mean, like this the story that we're like the script that we're like developing right now, that we're like finalizing revisions on right now. It kind of deals with like VR and the whole video game world, and how sort of like this the character sort of like inhabits like elements from the game and kind of bleeds into the real world, but like, the major subtext about it is like this kid is just like completely socially inept, and he just and a lot of it is actually very much based on me. That like he just has like, I mean, how he's obsessed with video games. I was like obsessed with movies, and sort of like always wanted to be transported into a different world, and sometimes like, throughout upbringing refusing to deal with like real life problems and all that, and how he pays the consequences for that kind of stuff. So that
basically serves your millennial population in terms of us getting swept away by our phones and living
escapism versus being in the moment. Which
you're
good
at. That's exactly. Yeah, I mean, like that's
a powerful theme.
Yeah, because I just I just love I mean, I like I said, like, I mean, I love genre movies and all that, and I find them a blast to watch and make and all that, but I like to use genre as like an umbrella, like I really, because I think genre, what's great about genre is that you can like do all sorts of subgenres of like just societal issues and so many different things, and as long as it's not like ham-fisted in a like a really obnoxious way, which I've seen movies do that a lot.
But some of those are classics.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I saw that movie, like that movie about like sex trafficking or whatever. Like the couple gets like, the wife gets kidnapped during like a cabin getaway, and it's trying to make this like exploitation kind of thriller, and then at the end of it, it's like has like this message by the end of it.
Dean Cain directed that.
Dean Cain.
Yeah, Dean Cain. What do you expect from Superman?
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, Dean Cain is he's that kind of guy.
He's learning. He's learning. He's a little straight-laced, probably a little bit. Too much TV oriented, doesn't have a sense of the nuance there, probably. Yeah, but hopefully he'll learn, so we don't have to suffer through that again.
Yeah. I mean, it's just very important. It is very important to me for like, I guess down the line as a filmmaker and storyteller, to really want to tell stories that are going to hopefully entertain the world, and like something that is going to like I do want to like eventually make like very commercial like mainstream movies. I mean, like what's that gonna allow you besides the ability to retire?
Think there's more flexibility in that studio system?
Yeah, because like I'm trying to sort of I as much as I do enjoy like this sort of like independent filmmaker kind of status, but I mean, a lot of people find like they're just like so anti kind of working with studios and all that, like, and I that's really like a goal of mine. Like I would love to make like $100 million movie one day.
Oh, how much fun would that be?
Yeah, I mean, like that's because I want that challenge. Like but I also want to like organically kind of work up to that. I don't want to just like be one of these like filmmakers that goes from like $1 million movie to like a $100 million movie.
Well, you better make that $100 million movie better make its $100 million back, otherwise you'll be back to the independent genre really quick.
Yep. I mean, like that's why I would never want to do one of these like $100 million like if I were to do like $100 million movie, I would love to do like a franchise kind of movie.
I would trust you. I would trust. From
man,
what I've seen, you can see the innate raw talent that you have. I'd throw that money in your lap and make $200 million off you easy.
Yeah, I mean, like that's I would love to like I'm just trying to like I just want to like get that I just want to keep on making like bigger and bigger, more like commercial movies, but kind of put some. Give some sort of like boldness underneath it.
Well, you want to bring the art of storytelling back. It sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, like I just, but I also love I love very like simple kind of stories because it gives you kind of room to give a complex or execution to it.
And you know what? That's funny. That's a thing. That's a thing that we teach. You're going to tell a complex story, complex script. You better shoot it simply.
Yeah,
right.
And if you're gonna, it goes the other way around. You're gonna tell a simple story. You have the actual luxury of making it more visually complex.
Yeah, that's what I really get attracted to because I don't like complex stories. I mean, like if I get lost, I'm done. I'm over it.
Well, if you get your hands on a complex story, the key is to capture it simply.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think like where my strength lies is like it's really like the other way around, where it's like approaching simple stories, but just giving it sort of like a complex sort of visual execution to it. Yeah, I mean, because I think the subtext really. I mean, I don't know. I just really like to. I mean, I guess I do consider myself to be like a very like visual person. I love looking at things.
Look at all the layers film has in it. I mean, you've got all those layers. You got all those layers of audio. You've got all those visual possibilities with your equipment.
Greatest art form, really.
Right?
I mean,
Isn't it?
Combines everything.
Is it not? Would you consider it a fine art?
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
totally fine.
I actually think I also think like video games are like art, even though a lot of people don't agree with that. Yeah,
seriously,
they're
a lot of art goes into them.
Yeah, I mean, video games are almost like movies. It's like the combination of almost everything in this as well.
Yeah.
Just animated.
Choose your own adventure.
Yeah,
but it's interesting you should say that. So you have I don't think this art form will ever go out.
No.
Because it's always going to be a narrative. There's always going to be room for a narrative story like this to take people on a story or on a journey. Whereas, like 15 years ago, they were trying to get clever with, trying to let the audience decide the story, where they wanted to go, and they realized that the audience doesn't want. When you go to a movie, you want to be swept away and taken on a journey.
Yeah,
and I don't think that will ever go away.
No, I mean, I think like movies are all about feelings, and I think I love movies that are like experiences. Movies need to be like experiences. I hate movies that are just like lazy, that just don't care about the audience.
Well, the fill-in for that is the VR. Like you can step into it and complete artificially created set of circumstances and exist actively in that space.
Yeah,
but that's fun as hell.
Yeah,
it can even be draining, and you can.
VR's kind of scary too, and like because it's still in like the infant stages, and like the future of it is like really like mobile. I think.
But you got to think you got to be healthy enough to even step into that environment.
Yeah. Totally.
It's a physical exchange with things, or augmented reality, where they're going with that. Like, and that lends itself to a whole nother level of experience. But in terms of just narrative storytelling, where the audience can sit without a thought and get pulled in and swept away.
Yeah.
That will, I hope that form is always here with us, because I'm fascinated with that, with the potential of that.
Yeah. I mean, also people have to understand that, like, there is a certain portion of our generation that does unfortunately watch movies on their like iPhones or on small little capsules and all. I mean, that's really sad, but like you also use your close-ups. Use your close-ups. Yeah, I mean, the movie has to work no matter what platform it's being. Even if it looks terrible, like it's still like if you like that's like the thing. It's like if you make your film if you only care about making your film look beautiful, then chances are someone's gonna watch your movie and it's gonna like be really washed out or low resolution. It's gonna look terrible. So you have to focus on the story first and foremost.
I heard that's like the old adage is the length of a film is determined by its beauty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
right. So if that one, sometimes like the Costner film, the Indian one,
Dances
with Wolves.
Yeah.
That was like a 3-hour movie.
Oh yeah, one best picture.
But you know what? I didn't think it was 3 hours.
No, those are the best. I mean, like I could watch like that. I could watch like Casino at like 2 a.m. like the Scorsese film, and that's like 3 hours long, and I just
right. So the length of the film is really determined by the strength of its content and how it holds us. So there's I
love pacing in movies where it's like just one scene just leads to the next. Like I love movies that kind of feel like one long scene. Like that's like the kind of pace that I really like in movies.
There was a film. I have a client who's in Avatar 1, and he's in 2, 3, and 4 now.
Oh wow!
Right, and so he was telling me, I interviewed him after he finished Avatar 1, and he said the initial cut of the film was 5.5 hours.
Oof.
And I was like, I want to see that freaking movie. I want to see the 5.5 hour director cut.
Yeah.
And all the nuances that he was able to bring into that longer cut. I want to see that movie, because that movie was another one that I went in and I just felt like I was just sitting there for a second and the thing was over.
Right. Yeah.
Initially, because it was such a visual.
I mean, I felt the way about
masterpiece.
Titanic as well. I mean, like, I think James Cameron's like the king of making long, great movies.
Right. But you're transported by the story.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not.
Even the long version of Titanic, which no doubt was longer than the version that we got to see.
Oh, completely, yeah.
But the suites, our theaters won't maintain that just for a financial reason. But still, there's a place for it. We'll sit through a Puccini opera for 3.5, 4 hours.
Yeah,
and
you watch like the Super Bowl for like multiple hours,
and if that thing,
or the World Series at 18 innings.
Yeah, I mean, like,
but the point is, we'll sit through those old forms of entertainment, because if they're executed right, it's like, wow, I just got transported. I'm floating out of the opera house, having witnessed that spectacle.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and all that energy of all the live music and the freaking huge talent that's moving that energy through that space, through their presence, and using that voice to get it out there. It's a fascinating platform. Not unlike some of these longer. I don't see the longer films. They're not making them like they.
Yeah, well, like the length, the really, like, the runtime for a lot of movies that come out these days that drives me nuts is like the 2 hour and like 10-minute movies. Like, those are like the movies that always feel like 5 hours to me for some reason.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
You couldn't have lost those 10 minutes, really? I mean, because I don't know, something about those extra 10 minutes makes it feel like almost like an hour longer. And like,
that's an example of a film that probably could have been cut down to 90 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, like,
it was probably only lent itself to a 90-minute film, but yet they tried to lengthen it out, and it wasn't there.
Yeah, most of the movies actually that are 2 hours and 10 minutes really do feel like they could have been cut in half.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't it interesting? Well, young man, you don't make that mistake.
No, I mean, I'm just I'm like a 100-minute tops kind of guy. Like,
your stories lend themselves to 100 minutes.
Well, I mean, I guess my two features were like 90 minutes. Like Drifter's like 86 minutes, and Mossberg's like 89 minutes. I mean,
how long were the scripts initially?
Around that. Actually, Drifter was like, the script was like 67 pages.
Right.
Because like there was like no dialogue. There's like really not that much dialogue in that movie.
Well, there was a great film called Leaving Las Vegas.
I love it.
That was only 60 pages.
I love it. Yeah. It is a very visual film, that movie. I love Leaving Las Vegas.
We're watching a lot. We're watching a lot of behavior. We're watching a lot of behavior.
Yeah.
We're watching the story unfold in
like
the shots.
Just leisure. It's a very
subtleties.
leisure pace. Yeah.
We're watching. What he sees, and it takes time to set that stuff up. But that's pretty ballsy for somebody to give somebody a few $1 million with. At the time, Nicolas Cage was like the highest paid actor on the planet.
Yeah. What a crazy what a crazy performance to give an Academy Award to. Just like I remember knowing my friend telling me about that movie. I saw that movie like 10 years ago, and I was blown away by Nicolas Cage in that movie.
Right,
yeah.
I love that film so much.
He had a couple of he's had a handful of Oscar-worthy performances, but at that point in his career, he was at the top of his game.
Yeah,
and that filmmaker had a lot of
Mike Figgis. Yeah, right.
Figgis had a lot of they gave him the reins and let him do it, and that's a 60-page script.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, because it's a pretty thin storyline, It's like he just goes to Vegas to drink himself to death, meets a prostitute, falls in love. Pretty thin.
Reborn.
Story. Yeah, reborn. Yeah.
Simple story, right?
Yeah.
Shot rather super intelligently.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a very poetic film.
Yeah. To me, that's a classic art house.
Yeah.
Right
a total art house film. Yeah.
That was like that to me.
That was like the birth of. It was like the rebirth of like the classic independent movement back in the 90s. Like,
yeah, and that was when I arrived in L.A. right around the time that thing came out. I said, wow, the agents don't have it easy either.
Yeah. I just like the biggest thing I always remember from that movie is Richard Lewis's random cameo as his agent or something. He sees at the restaurant in the beginning of the movie. I was like, Richard Lewis is in this movie? It's so random. Yeah.
That's great. Well, listen, I got a couple minutes. I mean, you've been here all night. Is there anything that you've left on the table? Is there anything that you can ask this young man that we haven't challenged him with?
Well, I would just give us a shout out of where we can find your work.
Let's find where.
My first movie, Drifters, on Netflix and like iTunes and Amazon. And then Monster Party that just came out this past Friday. It's still in select theaters, but it's not going to be in theaters for too much longer. But
where is it? Is it around here? Is it in LA?
Yeah, it's at the Lamley Monica Film Center, Santa Monica.
Let's go. Let's go see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I actually think tomorrow's the last day it's playing there. But
what day is it tomorrow?
Thursday.
I can do it. I don't think I have
clients.
I mean,
there's like a 1 p.m., 3 p.m., 7 p.m.
I don't have clients tomorrow. Maybe journey up there.
Yeah, I mean, but then it's also like they like really like shotgunned it like on like literally every single like cable and VOD platform. So it's like anywhere online digitally you can find it. And,
this is Chris von Hoffmann, people. That's who we've been talking to, and it's such a pleasure to have him in the Joy Score studio sharing his journey. And I look forward to seeing you, because we had you here and we can just watch this wonderful thing evolve.
Absolutely,
and I hope you don't forget us to let us know when you have your screenings and stuff like that, because we'd like to attend. And when you have another film coming out, you're more than welcome to come back, and we'll get you started on time next time.
No.
To talk about whatever it is you have coming up, because you're a fascinating young man. And
thank you.
I feel, and I'm sure a hell of a lot of other people and your fans can feel a lot of potential with you, and it's just gonna be fun watching you skyrocket.
Totally. Well, I appreciate that, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah,
it's such an inspiration.
It's total inspiration. Thank you, Chris von Hoffmann.
Thank you.
You're awesome.
Wait. Oh, Thomas has a question for
Yeah, what do you got for him? What movies do you like, and what would you recommend?
Oh man,
you mentioned a couple.
Oh man, I'm trying to like divide into. Well, I mean, like a movie that I study.
You said Casino.
Well, Casino's awesome, but like but a movie that I study like wall to wall. I've seen it with the commentary, without the commentary. There's a movie called like The Place Beyond the Pines from 2013 with Ryan Gosling, Bradley Cooper, Eva Mendes. It's a brilliant. It got a mixed response, but it's a brilliant film. It's an intimate epic. It spans over 3 generations. It's fantastic. If you want to watch like a very classic like a simple plot, but with like a very complex execution.
What's the title again?
The Place Beyond the Pines.
The Place
from 2013.
Beyond the Pines.
Yeah.
Place Beyond the
It's
Pines.
great.
Yes.
See that recommendation
One of
from
my
Chris
favorites.
von Hoffmann, one of his favorite films. You got anything else back there, Thomas?
I mean, I guess as far as like, oh my God, Baby Driver last year was my favorite film of last year.
Yeah.
The Baby Driver is awesome. And it's an action musical. It's great.
you mentioned The Shining.
The Shining. I feel like probably the majority of people, I guess, probably have seen The Shining, right? Just don't ever watch the Shining miniseries that they made in the 90s, which Stephen King actually thinks is better than the Stanley Kubrick movie.
That's wonderful.
It's more accurate to his material.
All
That's
right.
why.
All right. Listen. Thank you so much for being here and just coming in and giving us all these little and you know, daring to put up with me and open up to some unusual questions. Maybe hopefully this is a fresh interview for you.
Oh yeah.
All right, Thomas.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Roll number 4.
Roll number 4, which was actually there's only 3 in there.
There's 4.
Oh, you gave him 4?
Yeah.